car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-903-9880. That's 800-903-9880. What do you have to lose? Call 800-903-9880. Again, 800-903-9880. The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
I'm not going to lie. When you go outside and you leave your key card inside and you get stuck outside, it doesn't make, I guess poetic justice is the right word for that.
I thought I heard knocking out there.
On your home of the Gamecocks. The building does not open, I guess, officially until 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. So you have to have your key card to get in. So next thing I know, I'm stranded out there. The security guard is, and the security guard's not too concerned with letting the radio host back into the, hey, buddy, you guys, so I'm out there shivering.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
107.5, The Game.
And it comes into Reeves, back to Wheeler, and Severe Wheeler brings it into the front court, has it on the near side wing, drives over to Frederick, 3 right side, 2 strong, Sheboy offensive rebound, needs to give it to a guard, does so with 5 seconds left, Reeves tries a 3, that's short, rebound loose on the floor, and that'll do it! You can put Spurs on this one. The Gamecocks hold on and upset Kentucky 71-68. The Wildcats got multiple looks at it in their final possession, but the Gamecocks defended well and didn't give up anything clean. And just by the hair of their chinny chin chin, South Carolina holds on for the rarest of things. A victory in Rupp Arena, breaking the Wildcats' 28-game home.
Maybe, just maybe, the 2022-2023 athletic season as the year streaks come to a screeching halt at the hands of the University of South Carolina Gamecock athletic programs. A 40-game win streak at Memorial Stadium for Clemson, it's gone. It's out the window. The football team and Shane Beamer, you can thank for that one. And a 28-game home win streak for Kentucky, kaput, gone, out the window at the hands of Meechie Johnson, Lamont Paris, and the University of South Carolina last night, as South Carolina, a 19.5-point underdog in most places, 20.5 in some places, but 19.5 in most places. So much there was no money line on it, where you couldn't just take Kentucky to win straight up because the odds were so astronomical. South Carolina goes into Kentucky and knocks off the Wildcats 71-68 behind the incredibly hot shooting of one Meechie Johnson last night, who lived up to all of that recruiting hype that he had going to Ohio State, who lived up last night to everything that I had heard about him in the preseason. 6 of 10 from three-point range, 9 of 16 from the field. He even snagged 6 rebounds. He played 35 minutes. I believe he passed out cups of water when necessary on the bench. Kentucky goes down, and John Calipari and the Wildcats, well, there was people in the stands actually holding up signs asking Calipari to go to Texas, and they were escorted out if you didn't see that. Bottom line, last night, South Carolina. That wasn't even the craziest, though. I shouldn't say the craziest. There was a point that wasn't going to be the biggest news last night. News that we'd kind of expected. Spencer Rattler makes it official and announces that he is coming back to South Carolina for one more year, for his final year of eligibility. Welcome in. It's the early game, a exciting early game when you get up and you get to be the first show on the station with all the big news coming out last night, but just about as improbable as a win. And don't get it twisted now. That Kentucky team's got a lot of issues. It's not an NCAA tournament Kentucky team. It doesn't matter. I don't really care. I said this when South Carolina beat Kentucky without Will Levis up in Lexington during football season. You take the victory. Nobody asks, or you don't have to explain to anybody what Kentucky was or what they were like as a team. When you can take down the Kentucky Wildcats in Rupp Arena, you take advantage of it. And last night, a lot of great performances. Josh Gray was fantastic, and he only scored 4 points. He only grabbed 3 rebounds, but he only committed 2 fouls, and he played 24 minutes last night, and he was a big reason why Kentucky struggled in the paint. I mentioned Meechie Johnson last night, 26 points, and then there was the comeback story. One game after possibly the worst performance ever of his career. G.G. Jackson bounces back last night, 6 of 10, 2 of 2 from three-point range, snagged 3 rebounds, played 35 minutes and scored 16 points, looking every bit of the 5-star future lottery pick that G.G. Jackson is expected to be. Fantastic game from him. Great night. Absolute great night to be a South Carolina Gamecock, and you can wake up this morning feeling pretty doggone good on a Wednesday morning. Hope you're doing well. Tyler, look, I'll admit, this basketball team's got a long way to go. That's the bottom line. They got a long way to go. But last night, I was at Rupp Arena in 2009. I was working for the Big Spur. I was up there covering it. Devin Downey hit a shot there very, very late in the ball game to win it. It's a neat thing to win in Rupp Arena. I actually had a buddy of mine, Jonathan Black, who was sending me pictures from up there last night. He was actually in attendance. To go, I don't care when Kentucky's good or bad, to go into Rupp Arena and win is pretty special.
Yeah, what a difference a couple of days makes. And, you kind of looked at this matchup coming in with South Carolina just getting embarrassed on Saturday by Tennessee, and Kentucky likewise getting embarrassed by Alabama on Saturday. You would think that Kentucky was going to be on top of their game, and when South Carolina jumped out to that 5-0 lead, I know it was only within the first minute, but you're thinking, man, there might be something here. And South Carolina never surrendered to the lead after that. Kentucky never led in this game.
Yeah, it took a frantic rally from the Wildcats to even make it a 3-point game. If you had decided you were going to tune out on this basketball team and tune out on the basketball season after Saturday's 85-42 shellacking, the Gamecocks put up 42 points alone in the first half. 42-32 was the halftime score as South Carolina had it rolling early on. Kentucky, again, plenty of problems, but who cares? Who cares if Kentucky's got plenty of problems? This was just the third win at Rupp Arena in all time for South Carolina. The last time, again, came under Darren Horn in 2009 when South Carolina, again, had a special player in Devin Downey who led them that evening, or that afternoon. It was a Saturday afternoon game. And it was Meechie Johnson just draining some daggers, some absolute bombs from really anywhere on the court. It was when I was watching the game with my son Austin, and then there was a 3-pointer he took on where South Carolina swung it to the left wing. Johnson went down in the lane, come back off of the screen, and shot it from about the UK logo. And as he let it go, my son went, "Oh, that's a bad shot," and it hit nothing but net. He goes, "But it worked." I said, "That's exactly how it's working tonight. Some things aren't the prettiest, but they get done." And this is something that, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not going to sit here and try and predict South Carolina's an NCAA tournament team or that South Carolina's about to go on this huge run. There's still a lot of flaws to this basketball team, but this is the type of win in which South Carolina can really build off of. Lamont Paris can say, "Hey, we got this victory over Clemson, who's having a great season, is top of the league there in the ACC. Now we've got a signature win over Kentucky on the road, Tyler." And it is something that I don't know how much it benefits this year's team, but I think it benefits the program.
Yeah, it's a confidence builder. And if for nothing else, it showed you that your Lamont Paris is able to correct things with how wrong everything went on Saturday, how bad G.G. Jackson was. I mean, you pretty much fixed everything seemingly overnight, and he had a 180 in the performance last night. And obviously, there's still going to be the ups and downs as the season goes along, but a day and night difference from Saturday to Tuesday.
So we'll talk a lot about that this morning. Get your audio throughout the morning from Lamont Paris. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can be a part of the program this morning. You can hit us up on our Love Chevy phone lines or our Firehouse Subs text line. You can also go and join us with Chuck, David, RL, Travis, Robin, David, a whole bunch of people, everybody up and excited this morning on our live stream. Go to youtube.com and be a part of the program there. Go to YouTube, search 1075 The Game, click join, subscribe, weigh in. The chat room already going. RL saying Meechie shot some daggers last night. Travis saying, sure, it's not the typical Kentucky team, but an SEC road win for this team was huge, especially in Lexington. That's a good point. I wouldn't have pegged so far South Carolina to win an SEC road game anywhere this year, let alone in Rupp Arena. And I agree with Travis. I don't care what Tennessee, what Kentucky is supposed to be like, or what they are right now. That's a great win. Chuck weighing in on our live stream saying last night was really unbelievable. Great night for the Gamecocks and for Gamecock Nation. And that does lead us to our other big piece of information last night. Expected, but still really nice to see. And anytime you can use the Wolf of Wall Street, the movie Wolf of Wall Street, in your return video, I'm instantly become a bigger fan. Love that movie. Spencer Rattler last night making it official. He will return for another season in Columbia, and that instantly gives South Carolina the momentum right back. You get when he's on, we've seen both, right? We've seen off and on, but when Spencer Rattler is on, Tyler, you have, like what I've said, is one of the most dynamic 1-2 punches, I think, in the game in Juice Wells and now Spencer Rattler. And yeah, you lost the bowl game, but that was okay. It was a competitive game, a thrilling contest. No momentum was lost, and now you got your two studs back. Who cares about the guys who transferred out? You've got the guys that can make the engine go for Dow Loggins' first offense at South Carolina.
Yeah, I was going to say tip of the cap to Dow Loggins for landing the biggest recruit since his wife, as he mentioned in his opening presser. But yeah, both those guys into the season with 3 great games. So you think about the momentum going into 2023, and everything's looking on the up and up for Gamecocks football right now.
So we will definitely get into the Spencer Rattler news because it's important. I mean, South Carolina gets back a quarterback who can, without a doubt, maybe carry them. It can potentially carry them in certain games with the right offensive coordinator. We'll talk a lot about that this morning. Again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program. Again, you can go to our Firehouse Subs text line and join us there, 803-404-6100. And again, go to the live stream. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click join, subscribe, be a part there. We'll come back. We'll get out to those Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry has been waiting patiently since roughly about 10 o'clock last night to join us. He's fired up this morning. JC Shurburtt will join us at 7 a.m. this morning and be a part of the program as he typically is. And then Heath Cline will pop in for a little Wednesday segment, 8:15 this morning. So we got a lot to get to. Again, you're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for Gamecocks all year long. Streaming live local radio.
And it's free.
107.5 The Game.
Staying nice and warm, being cozy in your household. It's a pretty nice feeling. We can watch a basketball game and you're not worried about the heating and air unit going out. And with AAA Heating and Air, they make sure that's taken care of. They're ready to help you today. Get in touch with Roy and Dana Finley, 803-677-1500. Take advantage of the great deals they have going on right now with AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. If you are in need of a brand new heating and air unit, now is the time.
Minute, sponsored by TaxSlayer.
I may just have to leave the sound off if y'all are saying there's problems, because it's not the mic, it's nothing different. So it may just be something where y'all get no sound today. Nobody mess. I don't see anything wrong with the levels.
Refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refunds belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Save up to 80% when you file with TaxSlayer. Start for free.
Ray Magliozzi here for
I'm
eBay
just gonna turn
Motors.
it way
So
down.
you ordered a new
and
air
y'all
filter
just
for
have
your
to turn up
car.
your
You
speakers.
try to install it, but it
Turn up
doesn't
the
fit. So you take a
volume.
little
I'm
bit
gonna
off
turn
the
it down.
sides. Well, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. Did you know that since 2002, more than
Okay.
2.4 million lottery-funded scholarships such as Life, Hope,
There we
and
go.
Palmetto
All right, I turned it
scholarships have
pretty
been
far down.
awarded to South Carolina's students? Playing for
That
fun is
should
a
help.
win for education.
That should but it wasn't really jacked. Well, maybe this one was jacked up. You're all the way at the top. Maybe one of them was. We got two volume knobs there. I never mess with the one on top of the.
January means resolutions. I'm not going to eat French fries. I'm going to the gym every day.
No, I had.
Good luck with those. I'm not going to.
I had this on.
For my new Kia. Now that's a
Because I was listening to the audio just like y'all were.
Kia. Check our website, jtskia.com, for a huge.
That does sound because I can.
300 new Kias available. And the best part, no JT's Kia, Killian Commons Road, jtskia.com.
There we go.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who miss the fairway all day and still pull out the big stick, the type of guys who will always prefer to be behind the grill than in front of the camera, and the men who never let their friends forget about a high school nickname. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Who wants to settle for a single TV? With more TVs, bigger screens, plus our fabulous scenic views, there's more to watch at Twin Peaks.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. You know, in today's world where technology seems to be moving more quickly than ever, it can get a little confusing on exactly what product might be best for you. And just like your car or house, every so often you need to tune up for quick repair. Integrated Media knows this, and that's why they've introduced their Smart Service Plan. With just one click or call, you can let the crew at Integrated Media know your issue, question, or problem, and usually within minutes, they'll respond to the fix to get you and your family back to watching your favorite teams and shows, listening to your favorite tunes, or playing your favorite games. Additionally, the Integrated Media Smart Service Plan provides customers with regular check-ins to make sure things are running smoothly. Plus, they'll automatically upgrade software, so you don't have to worry about whether you're up to date. Integrated Media staff has all the tools necessary to keep your system out front of the ever-changing landscape. Home theater, commercial-grade Wi-Fi, and the service to keep it running smoothly. That's what sets Integrated Media apart from everyone else. 803-948-8327 and online at integratedmediainc.com. Integrated Media, watch, listen, control.
All right, taking a look at your morning drive around the Midlands. Have some road construction at I-26 westbound near the 108. Be on the lookout for that. Have a disabled vehicle at I-77 northbound at the 12-mile marker. Then we have an accident at I-77 northbound at the 5-mile marker. Other than that, everything looking pretty clean and green around the Midlands.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. This is 1075 The Game. Stop, shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Eight zero 6100 is how you can be a part of the program this morning. If you want to join us, let's get out to those Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry has waited patiently to crow about a big night for South Carolina athletics last night. Gamecock Larry, how you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling okay, but no, it wasn't 10 o'clock. I did get up at 3 o'clock this morning trying to think about what I was going to say about old Root Hall. Root Hall, get your word, buddy. We just made sure that the Bulldogs will not win, will not be repeat. We just made it last night. We're going to take the Bulldogs down in Athens. And now you want to give me 30 points for in Gamecocks against Kentucky yesterday. Well, you know what I think about Paris, but I guess old Gamecock Larry got to apologize again. I got too rough on that, but I guess he's gonna be all right. But now what were we gonna talk about? Oh yeah, I can make a prediction now, which I probably might not be around, but we gonna go 12-0 next year in the SEC. I mean, we gonna go 12-0. We gonna play Alabama in the championship game, and then we might get that old. I don't know who we gonna get, but we all right. I know I'm talking crazy. I better just shut up. But let me tell you something. I'm feeling good, and I'm gonna try to stay off for about a week. I'm gonna try to just let y'all talk, and I'll sit here and listen. But if them Clemson Tiger fans start saying something I don't like about the Gamecocks or this Bulldog fans, I'm going to have to call and talk about it. Go Gamecocks. Love all of y'all. Have a good day. Love y'all.
There you go. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Marvin just texted and said, I think Gamecock Larry owes Coach Paris an apology. And there you go. You got that right off the bat from him. It was a very good night there for South Carolina as they were able to roll right along and build actually a pretty big lead kind of off the bat. The jump there, the start was kind of what got South Carolina going. And I'll admit I didn't catch about the first 2 or 3 minutes. Was trying to get back with my son from soccer practice, and so I was listening to Derek and Casey on the call there. But one thing I picked up from the announcers is how surprised they were at how Kentucky came out flat, especially coming off of that Alabama victory. But South Carolina came out and kind of punched them in the mouth. South Carolina was coming off of obviously a bad loss as well, and it was South Carolina who jumped out to the big lead early on, punched Kentucky in the mouth, and then was able to take advantage of Kentucky. And Tyler, that's kind of – there was a lot of things that were surprising about last night.
Right.
That would be one of them, is that you saw such a impressive start to the game to kind of announce themselves as their – and I'm not going to say that I would have never picked South Carolina to win this basketball game, so I'm not trying to say I'm some genius. But if I was to draw up a scenario in which South Carolina wins the game, it was to come out and take advantage of a Kentucky team that was already lacking confidence, that was down on itself, that fan base is down on that program, and South Carolina did exactly what you have to do. They came out and they were able to take advantage of them right off the bat.
Yeah, watching the game on Saturday against Tennessee, it felt like South Carolina couldn't get anywhere near the basket, and quite frankly, didn't even want to try to, given what Tennessee's defense was. And they came out last night and saw Kentucky off to a sleepy start, and they didn't have any problem driving down into the paint and being really, really aggressive, which again is what they lacked on Saturday. And Kentucky's sleepy start. I think South Carolina eventually got out to a 13-2 lead there to start things off, and just kind of held on from there. And then you knew Kentucky was going to make surges, and they certainly did in the second half with a couple of runs towards the late stages of the game, but just enough to be able to hold them off and get that big win.
Yeah, certainly that was the way things needed to play out for South Carolina. And then South Carolina, again, timely shots last night. That was a big piece to it, and a lot of those coming from Meechie Johnson, but it was Gigi Jackson. And we've kind of talked about it. If South Carolina's going to win basketball games, those two, along with Chico Carter Jr., have got to be your primary scoring threats. Carter Jr. last night, 32 minutes, provided a lot of help, but not in the form of scoring. Just 4 shots. He was 1 of 2 from three-point range, had just 3 points last night. And again, you got a great game from Meechie Johnson. The stat line screams that. And this is what you were hoping with him. This was a big-time recruit that enrolled at Ohio State a year earlier than he should have, has gone through some things. We know he's been injured and banged up a little bit this year. 35 minutes, 9 of 16 from the field, Tyler. He had 6 assists. He had 6 rebounds and 26 points. And, again, some of those threes were pretty deep there. They were from darn near the half-court line.
I was going to say, some nights the ball just goes your way, and like you mentioned, that shot that he put up from nearly half-court that your son mentioned was a bad shot. Sometimes the magic's just on your side, and that was certainly on Meechie's side last night, which, again, helps out everybody else on the offense, particularly somebody like Gigi Jackson when you have another threat in Meechie out there scoring like he did.
Yeah, 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on that this morning. Lot going on, obviously. South Carolina getting that, not just the only news last night, South Carolina getting the Spencer Rattler news. And that was, I think it came out maybe second half, somewhere in there, but halftime, second half. 8:03 is about when it occurred, according to some of the Twitter stamps that I saw. And South Carolina, this was news again that we had kind of expected. We had kind of alluded to yesterday with Spencer Rattler and what was expected from him. Now I think the question, yesterday, Tyler, I went through the schedule for 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not predicting, please understand, because a couple people stopped me in the street or called me afterwards and called me a lot of very not nice names. And these are friends, so I can't imagine what people who don't know me were calling me. I just painted a picture, a path to 10 wins next year. Okay, here, look at the schedule. I don't think it's as tough. Initially, as we sat, yesterday was the 10th. I was saying as we sit here on January 10th, I know today's the 11th. You look at the schedule, and it's not as daunting as maybe some schedules in the past. North Carolina has obviously got a really good quarterback to start the season. That's going to be a fantastic quarterback matchup up in Charlotte. Spencer Rattler and Drake May. Drake May likely could very well end up being the number 2 quarterback, maybe even the number 1 quarterback, along with Caleb Williams, depending on how both of them continue to develop in the 2024 NFL draft. But you've got that game. But North Carolina lost a lot. Again, you went down the schedule, Furman, then Georgia, Mississippi State. Again, with Mississippi State coming to Columbia next year, no Mike Leach. How do they look like? I didn't look yesterday to see if they officially hired Mike Bobo just yet, but Mike Bobo appears to be the offensive coordinator going there. Clayton White's already been able to stall him once when their matchups, and that was when Mike Bobo had a much better running back in Tank Bigsby than what he'll have at Mississippi State. But you look at that schedule, Tennessee, you go down the list again, that Florida game that you imagine will be circled. Having Spencer Rattler back, I'm not saying 10 wins, but I think South Carolina fans now become even more excited about continuing the progress of the program. That 8 wins definitely in the regular season should be expected. Maybe 9. There's a lot we'll learn. There's too many things that we still have to learn about this program and about the other 12 teams they're going to play. But you do really like what you're seeing so far in terms of 2023. There's still Nicholas Harbor, who's sitting out there, the 5-star athlete likely to be tight end. So, Tyler, last night, not just a big night for basketball. It's a huge night for football.
You think he was tactical in putting that tweet out at 8:03? Because that would have been it right at halftime of the basketball game when, South Carolina was already up by 10. He's like, well, Twitter's already on fire. May as well light it up one more time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, again, it could be. Look, I'm not part of being a good football. I thought Dabo excelled at this early on in his career, promoting his program. And there is, I don't want to say gamesmanship, but there is a sales tactic to Shane Beamer being able to promote his team at the right time. And that is working in coordination with your players, whether it was done on purpose or not. I have no idea. I have zero idea. But I'll give you an example of that. I'll never forget Will Muschamp's first year, they were bringing everybody out because Dabo was great at this.
Yeah.
Sky Moore was coming back to South Carolina. He got injured and he didn't play Will Muschamp's first year. But Sky Moore could have gone to the NFL at that point. Now, maybe he would have been a 5th or 6th or 7th round pick, whatever it may have been. But he could have gone to the NFL. And so with all that in mind, Sky Moore elected to come back. And Will Muschamp on a big recruiting weekend brings the team out. And he could have pulled up what I would call a Dabo and looked over and said, hey, we've got this guy here who could have gone to the NFL. And Sky Moore, who was obviously at that time was kind of the face of the program. And instead, he elected to come back because he saw a vision that we're selling because of how great you, the fans, are, because, he could have done that. And he just kind of brushed aside the fact that Sky Moore was coming back. And I don't know if people remember that. It was at a basketball game again. I do feel like Shane Beamer understands bragging on guys coming back and saying they see the culture. They see the love we have, the brotherhood we have. This is why it's great to be here and using that for recruiting purposes.
Yeah, and that's one of the many, many reasons that I think Shane Beamer is going to be around here for a long, long time. He's somebody that obviously cares about the program, cares about his players, and again, things turned in the right direction for South Carolina football. 803-404-6100. We roll along on a Wednesday morning, January the 11th. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. Free of charge. In your car. Free of charge. Online. Free of charge. On the app and streaming on your smart speaker. Free of charge. 107.5 The Game.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey, Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WIN for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WIN for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WIN.
Pretty easy morning drive going around the Midlands right now. Got a disabled vehicle at I-77 northbound 12-mile marker, and you have an accident also on I-77. That's going to be at the 5-mile marker northbound as well. That's it. That's a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
The approved credit and bank determined down payment. Call 888-411-7640 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Dodgeland has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Ram or Dodge of your dreams. Dodgeland on Greystone, jtsdodge.com. Start something new sales event.
What a better way to cheer on the Gamecocks than with your own Traeger grill. Grill out with the family and friends. Old Timey Meat has plenty of Traeger grills in stock. Plenty of pellets, rubs, sauces, and accessories too. Come by Old Timey Meat Market in Lexington today to take a look at the many sizes of Traeger grills. Old Timey Meat, Traeger grills, and Gamecock football. A perfect combination.
Old Timey Meat Market. Quality selection. A cut above the rest.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. It's now officially playoff time as several teams held their first postseason practices, including the Chargers, who may not have Mike Williams Saturday in Jacksonville. The receiver did not practice and is being called day-to-day after injuring his back on Sunday. Lamar Jackson's status also in doubt due to a knee sprain, but the Ravens won't have to worry about losing Roquan Smith anytime soon. The Pro Bowl linebacker agreed to a 5-year, $100 million extension with the team Tuesday. As for the coaching carousel, former Niners and current University of Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh met with Denver virtually to discuss their head coach opening. Denver also interviewed their current defensive coordinator, Ejiro Evero, for the job. He's also gotten interview requests for the Colts and Texans head coach openings. Meantime, Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka has gotten head coach interview requests from the Texans and Panthers. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
At Staples, you can count on every project being print perfect, guaranteed.
I need presentations and brochures printed, and they have to be perfect.
Your bounded presentations, brochures with the finest folds, and more will be done right every time. That's our Print Big promise. Now at Staples, get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more, plus 20% back by a store bonus. Try Staples and see the difference. Ends 2/11. Rewards members only. Bonus must be redeemed in store. See staples.com/stores/printbig for details.
The new year is here. Time for a change. Start a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand IT field with My Computer Career. In just months, already in IT, build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus, and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
Hey, Gamecock Nation. Ben Cato and Matt Stedman from Cato's Power Equipment.
We are proud to be your family-owned dealership since 1984 for Aaron, Gravely, Oro, and Steel Power Equipment. Come visit our showroom at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, located right outside of downtown.
We're proud to serve Columbia's landscapers, municipalities, and of course our everyday grass cutters trying to one-up their neighbor. We can't wait to help maximize your mowing experience. Give us a call at 803-254-3711.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
Eight zero 6100 how you can weigh in against South Carolina's big victory last night. Gigi Jackson with a fantastic game. And afterwards, Lamont Paris talked about Gigi Jackson bouncing back from that awful performance on Saturday. He was 0 of 8 from the field. He had just one rebound. Here's Lamont Paris on Gigi Jackson last night, bouncing back for a solid night at Rupp Arena.
And big time response. I don't even know. I'm not even looking at the numbers because I don't want to. I just want to feel good about what he did. And it had less to do with what shots were. For him, this guy does not. Now, he scores in his sleep sometimes. It's kind of how he's built. But he does not have to score a lot to be really effective for us. He was communicating incredibly well. And we had other guys, too. But was really talking, was really active, was moving the ball. He's a really good ball mover when he wants to be. I was really happy with, and this is all in the face of a poor performance, not only just from a 0 for 8 standpoint, but he didn't handle the fact that he didn't play very well. Right. And he bounced back in a major way to both ends today.
That's Lamont Paris talking about Gigi Jackson last night. Again, Jackson 35 minutes. I think ESPN's got him listed at 35. The official Gamecock website has him listed at 34. Jackson was 6 of 10 from the field, 2 of 2 from three-point range. Those were his first three-pointers in SEC play. 2 of 3 from the foul line, grabbed 3 rebounds, scored 16 points. It was he and Meechie Johnson that carried the team in this ball game, combining for 42 points. So they combined for as many points together as the entire team did on Saturday against Tennessee. But it was those two guys that really got the job done, and they were efficient too. Both of them, again, Meechie 9 of 16 from the field, Gigi 6 of 10 from the field. It was a 15 of 26 performance from the two of them combined, and this is the best part, they combined to shoot 8 of 12 from three-point range. The Gamecocks as a whole, 11 of 20, and look, that's another part to this, Tyler. South Carolina last night, this is a team that's going to rely upon the three-pointer.
Yeah.
In Meechie Johnson's case, he's shooting it occasionally from half court. He's not afraid to let it go from very deep. South Carolina last night, again, just 7 free throws. And this is not a team that really goes to the basket. You had Johnson take 2, you had Jackson take 3, and Jacoby Wright makes the 2 there at the very end to kind of put the game, I don't want to say completely out of reach because obviously Kentucky still had a shot there. But those were the only 3 players to shoot a foul shot last night. South Carolina 11 of 20. On the flip side of that, Kentucky last night 3 of 10 from three-point range.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, sometimes the shots are going down for one team, not going down for the other, and that was certainly the case. With Kentucky there, and Kentucky just seemed really, really off in the first half completely, and certainly put it together in the second half. They started making some runs there late, but again, South Carolina was able to hold on. Going back to what Coach said though about Gigi Jackson, and I think what really stuck out to me there is, he's not even concerned about the points, not concerned about the stats. He's just concerned at the effort that he put in. And we saw on Saturday, it wasn't a good showing for him. And again, it gets talked about every single game South Carolina plays. He should still be in high school. He just turned 18 a couple weeks ago. Like, there's still a maturation process for a guy like him, but the complete 180 he had from Saturday to Tuesday is significant, and you hope he can keep that attitude going forward. And you see when his head's in the right place how much better he plays.
Here's a little bit of Lamont Paris talking about Meechie Johnson last night. He got into a little bit. Meechie again really leading the team. He and Gigi Jackson being the kind of the guys who made the whole system go last night. Again, you got a really nice contribution as well. The stat line doesn't say it, but Josh Gray last night I thought really also giving South Carolina some physical presence down low. The Gamecocks actually out-rebound Kentucky 32-28, but your star of the night, Meechie Johnson, with 26 points. Here's Lamont Paris talking about Meechie Johnson after the game.
He was really good and active and just involved. And it's like, it's funny, guys have to grow into roles. And you can say, well, this is my role because this is what it is, and I'm going to be good at it. But you have to grow into the role. Like that last out of bounds play for us, that ball going off of his stomach out of bounds, and then us winning had to happen for him. It had to happen that way for him to grow. Either that or he had to get it foul and go to the free throw line and make them. He needed something else to grow into the role. But he was active. He's really active as a rebounder. He's a good rebounder, honestly. Just on some effort, he's a good rebounder. But we talked a lot about that the bigs were going to have their hands full with these guys. And if some guy had to have 8. Well, how many did he have? 6, because I said 8. I said one of you guys that's my size is going to have 8 rebounds. I said that before the game, so I guess I was wrong. But he was really active and really aggressive and did a really good job for us today.
Again, that's Lamont Parrish talking about Meechie Johnson last night. 35 minutes, 26 points. Most importantly, 6 of 10 from three-point range. And as you just heard, Derek and Coach Parrish, they're talking about 6 rebounds and 6 assists. Johnson did have 5 turnovers. Okay, that's not necessarily what you want, Tyler. But the 6 assists, he didn't just score points. Meechie Johnson got everybody involved in the game last night.
Yeah, being multifaceted on offense, certainly an important part there. And what a career night for Meechie Johnson.
1 assist each for Hayden Brown, Gigi Jackson, Josh Gray somehow picks up an assist somewhere along the line. Benjamin Bosman Verdonk with 2 assists last night as well. So the Gamecocks moved the ball around pretty good. Couple under the radar guys real quick. Again, I mentioned Josh Gray. The stat line's not going to jump out at you. 4 points, 3 rebounds. He had 3 turnovers. He had a couple fouls, as he typically tends to do. But Josh Gray, I thought, effective down low guarding Oscar Sheetway, who, give credit to Sheetway, man. He was doing anything and everything he could to try and carry Kentucky last night. 40 minutes for the big fella, 19 points, 12 rebounds, 6 of 11 from the field, 7 of 10 from the foul line. He had the steal. He had 3 steals, but he had the 1 steal where he took it the length of the floor. This is just a case where I've watched Kentucky a few times, and I know that there's some talent there. For whatever reason, they can't put it together. And there are Kentucky fans. Somebody asked, Gene asks on our Firehouse Sub text line, is Calipari on the hot seat? I think he is. Now, I don't know. His buyout is ridiculous for Kentucky, so I don't know if they've got the money to fire him. But, yeah, people are not happy there with what was expected of John Calipari as a head coach. They haven't been to a Final Four since, I believe, 2015.
Yeah, things certainly trended in the wrong direction for Kentucky there. And, Sheetway, he himself was embarrassed on Saturday by Alabama getting only held to 4 points. And, he and Severe Wheeler were putting in the effort last night. And, the rest of the team there just certainly wasn't around them to pick up the rest of the slack, I guess. But, hey, South Carolina took advantage of it.
Yeah, again, last night, a lot of fun to watch for South Carolina. Big night, good win. Just a great, everybody feels great about it type victory. And, hey, South Carolina comes home to host Texas A&M on Saturday, 6 o'clock at Colonial Life Arena. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. You listen to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, J.C. Shurburtt due up in about 15 minutes. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for Gamecocks all year long. Streaming live local radio. And it's free. 107.5 The Game.
Things still looking pretty calm as you drive around the Midlands. Still have a disabled vehicle at I-77 northbound at the 12-mile marker. And you still have that accident working at I-77 northbound at the 5-mile marker as well. And that's a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
This report is sponsored by FN America Careers. Are you ready to join a high-caliber team? FN America is always looking for the best talent to design and build the most innovative firearms. We make world-class products to defend our nation in a friendly, rewarding, and engaging workplace. Explore your next career at FNAmerica.com/careers.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. Even after 25 years of business, we continue to build Midlands Landscape around the trust and care of our customers. Hey, business owners, do you want to make your site more appealing? Midlands Landscape and Lawns can maintain and beautify your space that you and your customers will enjoy. Call today, Midlands Landscape, at 356-8080. That's 803-356-8080.
I'm starting the new year by making my home feel like new with the advanced cleaning of Zerorez. Take advantage of their New Year sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. Schedule online at ZerorezColumbia.com.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Dodgeland on Greystone doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars. And he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of. JT's Dodgeland on Greystone. JT'sDodge.com.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet, perhaps a leaky foundation, 356-1919 is the number to call for all your roofing and waterproofing needs. The quality and craftsmanship of a Mid-State roofing system are tops in the industry, especially commercial and industrial roofing systems. If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, then you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So the number to call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all that Mid-State has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com. Tell them, Mid-State twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The Early Game with Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. Again, 2 major topics of conversation this morning. One on South Carolina's big victory. Just the 3rd time South Carolina scoops up a victory while up at Rupp Arena, and they do it in style last night, 71-68 over Kentucky. Great win for Lamont Paris and his ball club to be back home on Saturday afternoon against Texas A&M. Ready to take on the Aggies. Maybe build on that. Tyler, I think that's the next thing is first year Lamont Paris, I will admit I had very low expectations going into the season. Very low expectations.
Sure.
Was there for South Carolina State, was there for Clemson. And after the Clemson win, I thought Clemson was a good team. I didn't think Clemson would be as good as what we're seeing so far. But after the Clemson game, I thought, this team might have a chance to be pretty good. Then they go to the Charleston Classic and they get kind of pounded and it doesn't look good. Then they go to George Washington, and that was really ugly. They win the overtime game. They fight. Mm-hmm. It's not a very talented team, but they are scrappy. And Lamont Paris said at the beginning of the year, first year, there are going to be bad nights. He said there's going to be nights we look like the Harlem Globetrotters. There's going to be nights we look like the Washington Generals. He's nailed that one 100% so far because this is – and that's why I say this, because I'm not sure what you take away from this one game other than it's just a great night for South Carolina.
Right. Yeah, and that's the ebbs and flows of, I feel like, any coach, it being his first year at a new program. And, I think we went into last night coming off the Tennessee game thinking, man, is South Carolina going to be able to win any conference games this year? And, coming off the win against Kentucky, I don't think anybody's saying, oh, we're going to win 10, 11 conference games now. But it's like, okay, maybe 4 or 5. I think that's a reasonable number to look at, coming off the win last night. But I don't know. It's just the ebbs and flows of a first-year head coach. And there's going to be, I'm sure, more bad nights are going to be talking about before the season's over. And hopefully there'll be a couple more good ones, too, that we're talking about like today. But, you just never know what you're going to get sometimes.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in this morning. If you want to join the program, you can do so that way. You can also go to our live stream, go to youtube.com, search, click, join, subscribe, be a part of the program that way as well. We did mention this, and I'll get Tyler's take on it. South Carolina, I mentioned this yesterday because it came out came out Monday night. Tyler, South Carolina football. Now, we just mentioned Spencer Rattler's coming back. All right, that's really exciting and thrilling. Yeah. You've got them now with a lot of momentum. But South Carolina also finished the season ranked in the top 25, the AP top 25 for the first time since, I believe it was 2013. Mm-hmm. That's a huge accomplishment as well. It might not mean a lot later on. It's kind of like becoming bowl eligible. I don't think next year becoming bowl eligible means a whole lot. It's what bowl you go to and so forth and so on. But finishing number 23 in the AP top 25, just having your name back in there, now you couple that with Spencer Rattler coming back and the fact that you should have momentum going forward. That's a really good thing to finish in the top 25 for this program in year 2.
Right, yeah, it's something to build off of. You go from making the bowl game in the first year, winning 8 games, knocking off 2 top 10 teams in the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Strong bowl game performance, didn't win that game. But yeah, ending the season ranked in the top 25 is something significant and something to point to as far as the momentum goes for 2023, and hopefully to continue to build up from there.
So again, that's you talk about the Spencer Rattler news. I did get a question on the Firehouse Subs text line asking about Luke Doty and what his plans are. Now, he has told Gamecock Central in an interview a couple weeks ago that regardless of Spencer Rattler's decision, that he was planning to come back. I do think that I'd be shocked actually if he left. It might be a situation where you see some other quarterbacks leave and move on to greener pastures. South Carolina sitting there with Colton Gauthier, obviously Braden Davis and Tanner Bailey in that room to go along with Doty and now Rattler, and then Lenora Sellers coming in. I will be interested to see with this Spencer Rattler news, the transfer portal technically to enter it closes a week from tomorrow, closes on the 19th. I'll be interested to see if any of these guys make what I would say is kind of a rash decision to jump in, or if they're willing to go through spring practice and then with the understanding, good, granted Tanner Bailey and Braden Davis both probably understand, hey, we weren't going to start this year anyway. Yeah. Next spring, we'll be in the battle with Luke Doty to try and compete for the starting job. So I'd be a little surprised if either of those guys left. Lenora Sellers, obviously just a freshman. Colton Gauthier would be the one guy I'd look at, but if you've kind of followed him on social media and you know what's going on, you're aware that Gauthier has kind of made Columbia his home. He's played some guitar at some places. I don't think he's making great NIL money, but he's making a little bit. He would be the one guy you'd maybe look at. But that quarterback room, you're going to have a lot of competition in the spring behind Spencer Rattler, and that's what you love to have because it pushes those other guys to get better. And that's been something that give credit to Marcus Satterfield for building. Give credit to Shane Beamer for building. They've done a good job of being able to upgrade that quarterback room. Obviously, Tanner Bailey was a 4-star. Lenora Sellers, who will be here, is a 4-star. We know what Spencer Rattler was. Leuk Doty. So you don't just have warm bodies. You have guys that create good players that create competition.
Yeah, and we'll see just how patient these guys are. In the era of the transfer portal, you naturally imagine that one of these guys most likely is going to go somewhere, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, the more of those guys you can keep around, certainly be better. And Spencer Rattler going to be the guy for 2023. But should something happen to him, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't. You would like to have somebody like Luke Doty to be that solid backup you can turn to.
So we'll see. We'll continue to monitor that. Coming up here in the next hour, you've got J.C. Shurburtt, who will join us. We'll get his take on last night's game against Kentucky, the big win for South Carolina. Big picture, again, I don't know what it necessarily means. South Carolina not really in contention for the NCAA tournament, but for a program builder and for confidence and to show that Lamont Paris's system can work. And when he gets the guys in, I do think it's a big game. I just don't know if that impacts this season as much as maybe recruiting and moving forward with more seasons. So you've got that. We'll discuss that. We'll also get into the Spencer Rattler news and how J.C. Shurburtt sees that impacting spring practice and moving forward into the fall 2023 season. The countdown zone, South Carolina and North Carolina up in Charlotte. We now know it'll be Spencer Rattler versus Drake May. Should be a lot of fun for people that want to get up to Bank of America Stadium. That should be a game that's highlighted in the off season going into that game. So there'll be a lot of excitement around that game, not just locally, but maybe nationally as well, given the two quarterbacks. We'll talk about that. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus media station.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Jeep Ram in Lexington doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars. And he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car and get more than you ever dreamed of at JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. JT'sJeepRam.com.
At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide life-saving equipment to first responders. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. That's why they're bringing back their daily medium sub special for just $7.99. Enjoy a different handcrafted medium sub at a special price every single day of the week. Like today's Wednesday special, the New York Steamer sub for just $7.99. Get it for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs and order now with a rapid rescue at firehousesubs.com.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about that sound? You're listening to a set of GE appliances, complete with all you need to keep food fresh, dishes clean, and everything else stress-free. Making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Get up to 25% off select GE appliances right now. Offer valid January 5th through January 25th, 2023. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent, but then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
University studies have shown that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a semester of college Spanish. If you want to learn a new language, there's no better way than Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try Babbel for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Cashback is not available on gas, New Jersey, Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WIN for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WIN for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WIN.
Ever wonder why your business doesn't show up on online search maps, but your competitors do? It's hundreds of things. Things that Cumulus Boost can identify and fix. And that's how we boost your findability. CumulusBoost.com. CUMULUS Boost.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game. Sponsored by the power of Love Chevrolet. It's that time of year, and no better time to say thank you to you, our valued customer. Love Chevy, your trusted family-owned dealership since 1961. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads. The early game. With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
They're professionally chaotic, sloppy by design, and this morning we have reached
all of it.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
We have reached new heights. I've been locked out. The computer's not worked. The text line has not worked. But I'm glad that all of you are here with us.
107.5 The Game.
Yeah. Get up.
7 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, as we get you up and out the door, coming up here in just a few minutes as JC Shurburtt will join us. We'll get into that. Big night last night for South Carolina basketball as well. You had Gigi Jackson and Michi Johnson leading South Carolina to a 71-68 victory over Kentucky, snapping a 28-game home winning streak for the Wildcats. Johnson with 26, Jackson with 16. Those two guys driving the car there for Lamont Paris up at Rupp Arena. Big games for them. Josh Gray also, again, the stat line won't suggest it, but I thought Josh Gray and his physical presence on the interior making the night tough for Oscar Sheetway. Certainly a big night there. So we've got that. And then on top of all that, right around halftime, the Spencer Rattler news pops out. Spencer Rattler making it official. He will return to South Carolina for one more season. He'll partner with Juice Wells. And joining me now to discuss all these great things is my good buddy, JC Shurburtt, who, JC, it was quite a Saturday. It wasn't Saturday night. It felt like Saturday night. Should have partied like it was Saturday. It was quite a Tuesday night for South Carolina Nation to not only watch a victory that's very rare, beating Kentucky at Rupp Arena, but to get confirmation Spencer Rattler coming back for 2023. What was the bigger part to you? Because they were both equally fun and exciting.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of been waiting on that Rattler news, and I kind of reported back when we were having the Dowell Loggins discussion that most of your major players were kind of bought into the new hire and stuff, and Gene Bell left, and I think that, I don't think that was a surprise in the grand scheme of things, but it was a surprise as to how it happened. And then Marshawn Lloyd came out of left field. He had told the staff he was coming back 2 days before he left. Of course, now he's in Southern Cal. But those two were big because I felt like, and I don't know if you felt this way or not, but I felt like the Tennessee-Clemson game and even sort of into Notre Dame had just not gotten shaken up in that game. I think that was an understated part of the game, is when he kind of took a shot to the ribs. Wasn't totally himself in that one, but you're talking about 25 receptions the last 3 games of the season for him. After a year where, frankly, probably should have gotten the ball in his hands a little more. I think we said that all season. I think, these two guys are good enough to go, right? They were good enough to go. But I think that given their draft, and a lot of times your draft projections based on who else is out there too, they probably can play their way up in the draft with good seasons next year. They have great chemistry together. It's absolutely huge. Speaking of Dowell Loggins in his first year as the OC, to have those two guys back at his disposal, I think that they're probably not completely finished in the portal either. And so we'll see if they can maybe snag another receiver or two. But, certainly when you look at it, there's some pieces in place. And I think anytime, my friend Mike Morgan always says this, anytime you have a quarterback, you have a shot, especially in the SEC. If you struggle at that position, you really have no shot. So it's huge to get a proven player like Rattler back in the fold. As far as basketball goes, you play in the SEC, anytime you win at Rupp Arena, it's special. It's like winning at Cameron Indoor in the ACC or up at Chapel Hill. I mean, it's always special. And the guys last night, it kind of hit me. And it's probably a Captain Obvious take. But one thing I have noticed about this team is when Michi Johnson's on, they can get some things done. When he's not, maybe not. And certainly rebounding from what was a very embarrassing loss to Tennessee. Tennessee's very good. But it was a tough loss to get beat that bad at home in your conference opener, to rebound and then go on the road to beat Kentucky. I think that's a very positive sign, not only for now but for the future. I don't know that I'm going to make any grand predictions about this team getting extremely hot, making a run to the big dance or anything. But anytime, like I said, you win at Kentucky in that building. It's special, and it only happened twice. I think Horn got him one time when Billy Clyde Gillespie was coaching there, and then the other one was that win on Senior Day at Rupp where the Gamecocks clinched the SEC. 97, which I guess Bill's now 24, 25, 26 years ago. So it's that's always a big win. I don't care who you are, or what's going on in a moment of time. That's always a big win for any program that competes in this league. So, two very positive things on Tuesday night. We'll see how things go from here.
I think when what you were saying, I don't anticipate this leading to some NCAA tournament run. South Carolina's way, way, way down on the net rankings. And I understand why you were saying that. But I think big picture, JC, number one is to see Lamont Paris, regardless of what Kentucky is today. They're not a good basketball team today. South Carolina didn't beat a typical Kentucky team. But I really don't care because Saturday's performance was so bad. To see Lamont Paris be able to rally the troops, to be able to get G.G. Jackson mentally back to a part where he can go and score 16 points last night, because his body language stunk on Saturday. The team is all, when you get beat like that, you just get drummed out of your own arena. You run the risk of losing your program. And Lamont Paris did a great job, in my opinion, in 2 days of rallying the troops, keeping them believing in what they were trying to accomplish. And again, yeah, Kentucky's not some great program right now, but it's still a 28-game win streak up there at Rupp Arena. That to me is it's almost about building for the future, for that, being able to show not just his team, but his fan base and even future recruits, hey, we've got a plan. We've just got to stick with it. And that's similar to a football coach right now who's getting his quarterback back.
Yeah, you think about this, Bill, too. Like Daniel Hankins Sanford had knocked down a big three yesterday. I mean, that's a young player. Zach Davis, Austin Bennett. Gigi, obviously, it's, whether he's one or done or not, and I kind of still think he is, it's big and important for him to have a productive year. And statistically he has. But you're right. And look, here's the thing about the Tennessee game, though. Rick Barnes, you and I have watched him coach for years. We know the one thing they bring to the table, it doesn't matter how, and they are very talented this year, very talented. And it's a disaster when you have a young team or an inexperienced team not used to playing together, and they go face that type of defense. I mean, that they play, and it. Every time you play one of his teams, defensively they are smothering you, and it can be very, very frustrating. Even when they don't have great talent, it's a frustrating team to go play. And so getting beat that bad, I'm surprised it was that ugly, but that can happen to a team against that bunch in a heartbeat. And, like I said today on the Big Surf this morning, I was talking about it. It's like, well, if somebody's making the point, well, some days suck as a fan, but some days are great as a fan. It's like life, and some days are good, some days are bad. Yesterday was very, very good. And I think when you talk about sports being an allegory of life, sometimes it's not about what happens, because things inevitably will happen. It's how you respond, and that's what winners do. They respond. They don't let one loss lead to, 3 or 4. And that was probably a concern after getting beat that bad by Tennessee. But look, they played 3 conference games. You had a game against Vandy that could have gone either way. Went to overtime. Obviously, we lost. Tennessee was a debacle at home, but then winning in Rupp, you kind of look at where they're at through 3 league games, and you're like, okay, well, this isn't as bad as everyone thought when, in December when they were getting blown out by mid-majors. So, and good mid-majors, but mid-majors nonetheless. So, I think things are looking up. If you throw the Tennessee game out, you kind of look at the Eastern Michigan win, and the win over Western Kentucky, this team has kind of gotten better. That Tennessee game was obviously ugly.
Mm-hmm.
They've been competitive in 2 or 3 league games. They did beat Eastern Michigan, but their stud player, they had the win over Western. So, things, believe it or not, they're looking up. I think patience is going to be in order, but certainly, like I said, anytime you can win it rough, it's special.
803-404-6100 is how you can get in touch with us this morning if you want to send in a text on the Firehouse Subs text line. This is a good point, as Anonymous Sexual Ways in says, I feel like the Lamont Paris timeout call, that was a big one, because Jacoby Wright's about to fall kind of out of bounds there, JC, and it was a good job by Lamont Paris to kind of read the situation very quickly, get the timeout called. Unfortunately, resulted in Michi Johnson having one hit him right in the stomach and go out of bounds when they came back in the game. But, again, I think that's one thing. Lamont Paris and some of the moves he made, I think you focus on that because this was a coaching job. Give credit where credit's due. This was a good job coaching a basketball team. And that is, I think, big picture, not just for 2022, 2023, but you look at this program moving forward. I know it's only one game, but you do see coaching changes there, things that he did or did in game that I think a lot of people would like.
Yeah, I love the Josh Gray replacement, like you mentioned. I don't know, just from my standpoint, I've kind of thought he was better than the guy they had starting, just from – and like you said, he's not going to fill up the stat sheet all the time, but he's got a presence about him. And, still looks like he's still learning to play a little bit. But, I think he has some things about him physically you can't really coach, and I like that. I like that move. I like kind of the balances of how they split up the minutes last night. And, of course, when Michi Johnson's on fire like that, I mean, it kind of makes your coaching a little bit easier. But, certainly that timeout was huge. I mean, great awareness. It was a split-second call, too, because he was about to fall out. I know they had the turnover there or whatever, but Kentucky was all out of sorts. I thought Carolina competed on the interior really well, competed for loose balls really well, and just seemed like they wanted it more. And for a team that's been struggling and everybody says it's going to finish last in the SEC, people are wondering if they're going to win a league game or not. To go out there and play with that kind of desire and out-desire Kentucky. Well, Kentucky could have used the game too, The announcers last night were saying it was a must win. To go out there and out-will that much on their home court, I think says a lot for right now. You're right, it's only one game, but, if you think about this season, what you're looking for is kind of small victories. And I don't know, last time somebody checked Clemson basketball, they're doing pretty well, and the Gamecocks got that one, and then they got this one. And, those are the games the fans kind of want to win every. And obviously you don't always at Rupp, but that's those are big. And so you mentioned building upon it, and I think certainly you can take this with you for the rest of the year. You can say, all right, guys, we're not terrible. Look at what we've done, and continue to go up there and try to find a groove and get Michi going and Gigi going, and then the rest of them, I thought hustled and played hard, and Hank and Sanford and Zach Davis and those guys, get them going and build with them, and you can kind of see some light at the end of the tunnel. Basketball recruiting is going to be a struggle for just about 80% of the programs in the country because of NIL these days and the portal and all that. But what you want to do is kind of set the tone, set the standard, and show through performance that things are heading in the right direction in your first year.
803-404-6100. I see Cindy plenty of the text messages coming in. We'll get to one of them, including a comment from AC about Dow Loggins, Spencer Rattler, Juice Wells. We'll get JC's take on that and discuss the Spencer Rattler news. That was certainly just as much fun and just as exciting last night. You're listening to JC Shurburtt, Bill Gunner. He's producer Tyler Head. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. In your car, online, on the app, and streaming on your smart speaker. 107.5 The Game.
It's getting busy out there on the roads around the Midlands. Still got that disabled vehicle at I-77 northbound 12-mile marker. Still working the accident at 77 northbound at the 5 as well. Have an accident out in Kershaw County. Ooh, car versus a deer. That's not good. St. Paul Road and Gary Street out there. You also have another accident back home in Richland County at I-26. That's going to be at the 93-mile marker eastbound, and that's a look at your traffic on the Midlands.
This is Boomer Science with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. The juiceless Jets deserve penalty laps. However, they've proven they can't run since Breece Hall's injury. Robert Saleh start jogging, and offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, be careful. He may be run out of town. Aaron Rodgers is running after failing at home again. And Mike Tomlin, how do you allow a tasteless CPR-themed sack celebration, especially with what happened with Damar Hamlin? I'm Boomer Science.
The NFL playoffs are here, and the easiest way to get into the action is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers get started with $150 in free bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with promo code WIN. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code WIN. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
21 plus in select states. Must be present in select states to wager. First online real money wager only. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. For Colorado, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia, West Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 Wyoming, Kansas, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com. 1-877-770-STOP Louisiana. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. 467-369 in New York. TN Redline 1-800-889-9789 in Tennessee.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Powerball jackpot for Wednesday is $360 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds and a store near you.
Here's attorney Eric Moan for the Hood Team.
The Hood Team, Danny, his wife Karen, and their son William, they know everything there is to know in this market. They are, at the same time, extremely successful and also extremely driven to continue that success.
I'm Danny Hood.
And I'm Karen Hood.
And I'm William DiMaggio. We're the Hood Team at Coldwell Banker Realty. Give us a call.
At 803-730-2512.
Or online at thehoodteam.com.
Wow, 2022 flew by, but I sure am ready for 2023. My favorite way to start the new year is to make my home feel like new with Zerez carpet and air duct cleaning. Only Zerez uses the advanced, patented process with ZR water for superior, long-lasting clean. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game, and you'll get a hallway clean for free. Easily schedule your cleaning online at ZerezColumbia.com.
You haven't tasted real Carolina barbecue until you've experienced Little Pig's Barbecue. Full-service dine-in buffet with barbecue ribs, brisket, chicken, rice, hash, tomato pie, macaroni and cheese, and many more of your favorites. Eat in or take out. Little Pig's Barbecue on Alpine Road is open from 11 to 2 on Wednesday, 11 to 8 Thursday through Saturday, and 11 to 3 on Sunday. Little Pig's Barbecue on Alpine Road. Little Pig's family looks forward to seeing you soon.
Start the new year in a new Chrysler or Jeep at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone with zero, nothing down, and 0 payments for the next 3 months. Lease a 2022 Jeep Compass with 0 down, just $379 per month. That's right, a new Jeep Compass for $379 per month with 0 down. Plus, get a $7,500 tax rebate when you lease a new Grand Cherokee, Wrangler, or Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. And you can still custom order the exact Jeep you want for just $1 down and $1,000 below MSRP. And don't forget, Galliana Chrysler Jeep will take any trade in any condition, even if it's rusted, busted, or can't be trusted. So if you're interested in buying a new Chrysler or Jeep with zero, nothing down, and 0 payments for the next 3 months, gotta go to Galliana. Start something new sales event at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone. I-126 Zoo Exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or GallianaSC.com. Compass stock number 2913 42 month lease, 0 due at signing. No security deposit subject to lender approval. Offer still combined, expires month end.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
The Guttermen have been providing top-notch service throughout the Midlands for over 47 years, building their business on relationships, not gimmicks. And you can call them locally, not a 1-800 number. Call them today at 791-7147 and look for the guys in the powder blue trucks.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
Mix a little sports analysis, pop culture, and great interviews, and you've got the Rich Eisen Show podcast.
Daniel Jeremiah here in the Prospect Stock Watch. You look at the draft order, who are you hearing first overall?
To me, Bryce Young. I don't think he's for every team. I like the fact he could go to Houston and play in a dome. It's warm weather road games for the most part. That's an ideal environment for him. People ask for comparisons, and I said, yeah, if you left Aaron Rodgers in the dryer too long, you get Bryce Young.
The Rich Eisen Show podcast, wherever you listen.
Get the right care at the right place. Visit Lexington Medical Center's convenient urgent care centers for minor illnesses and injuries, and use our emergency room for emergencies. Go to lexmed.com/care now to know where to go for the care you need now.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The early game
With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the Gamecocks.
1075 The Game.
$7:21 on your Wednesday morning. JC Shurburtt, Bill Gunner, producer Tyler Ahead, as we get you up and get you going here, get you out the door halfway through the work week. The other big, so South Carolina win. Typically, JC, boy, we'd spend like 3 hours just breaking down South Carolina, knocking off Kentucky. It's such a rare occurrence. But last night, 8:03, Spencer Rattler makes the announcement that he is coming back. And get your take on this text message here. Firehouse Subs text line AC weighs in and says, seeing guys like Rattler and Wells coming back is giving me confidence in what Dowell Loggins has in store for the offense. And that is the next part because, all right, you got your big two weapons back. They do have to find a running back there that can really kind of carry the ball every down. But, JC, to this end, when you talk about Dowell Loggins now and how he utilizes two really good weapons, I think it does get you a little bit more excited with a guy who has a quarterback coaching background from his time in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that was a big part of the hires. Is I think, you know, when you talk to people around the program, they felt like Rattler should come back, you know, for him, but they also needed him to come back. I mean, he's good, you know, and that's nothing against Luke Doty or the other guys. I mean, but anytime you get a better quarterback back and, you know, he kind of leads the way for you, that's very helpful. And I think, you know, everybody gets caught up, myself included, in the play calling and the offensive scheme and stuff like that, because that's a lot of fun to discuss, you know. But I think one part of it people may have missed was the coaching, the quarterback coaching aspect of it. And, you know, they a lot of people, myself included, were kind of wondering, well, why not a pro-style guy or whatever. Well, I don't think this offense is going to look similar to last year's, regardless. I mean, I think he's got a lot of good ideas and things like that. But I also think having someone that's coached quarterbacks in the NFL for that long really helps your calls when you're trying to say, hey, look, you know, you probably aren't quite ready, but this guy could get you there and get you prepared. And I think that was a big part of it. And, you know, Loggins is in his short-term time back in college football, he's done a really good job recruiting both at Arkansas and South Carolina in the short amount of time he's been there. So, you know, that's a positive as well. And, you know, that's kind of what that is. Guys have a lot of options these days, so recruiting is sort of part of it. And, you know, it is a good sign for those that were skeptical. I mean, we're not going to know until we know about the play calls and all that. But, you know, and even at that, sometimes it's execution. It's not the actual calls. So I do think it's a positive sign for those that were on the fence, so to speak, maybe, or not even close to the fence. But I think that, you know, you look at it and you're like, well, there's something, you know, that is exciting to players about this guy. And that's true with Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells and just about everybody else as well. So I think we can put to bed the whole notion that Beamer's OC hire caused any attrition at all, because you look at the proof and it actually has gotten guys back and guys that they really need. So that's and then guys from, you know, the portal, and also there's a quarterback over in Florence that was certainly impressed as well. So I think that so far so good on that subject.
The question that everybody will ask now is South Carolina is as stacked, both depth-wise and then with talent. You've got, obviously, Rattler. Luke Doty was a four-star quarterback. Tanner Bailey was a four-star. Lenora Sellers is a four-star coming in. Then you actually got Dante Reno actually behind all of those guys. But the big question will be now with the transfer portal as is, how do you see that quarterback room shaking out? Because I'll get into this a little bit later on, but JC, back during the summer, last summer, I just threw out the hypothetical. Hey, if Spencer Rattler doesn't have the best year and South Carolina hypothetically wins 8 games, lo and behold, I ended up being dead on, and he's got to come back for another year. What happens? Like, how do you feel about that? Because having some stability there at quarterback would be a really good thing for year 3 of the Shane Beamer era. Well, here we are, but you are sitting there with a bunch of guys who, they can only play one position. How do you see this quarterback room kind of shaking out?
Well, I think everybody's going to kind of stick with it, give it a chance, maybe reassess after spring. I think it's almost impossible these days, Bill, to avoid attrition from your quarterback room, especially when you recruit well, because guys do want to play. And I don't know that patience is an emphasized virtue these days, right, with anybody. And so, it wouldn't surprise me. Now I will say this: I did pick up some information that I feel, and again, you never know. People may change their mind, whatever. I feel pretty good about Luke Doty returning. I do, based on some things I've picked up. I think he's happy at Carolina, wants to be a Gamecock, is willing to kind of wait his turn. And then there's a guy that's kind of thrown into it, and I thought that, it wasn't a huge sample size against, people starting defenses, but I thought he looked way more comfortable this year than he did in previous years. And that's from the spring game all the way up. And so I like the chances of him returning, Tanner Bailey, Braden Davis, all those guys, I haven't heard anything about them leaving. But, that old saying, something's got to give. Sometimes something's got to give when you're at that position. And there's a lot of guys that have a lot of upside and ability in that room. And we'll see. And some depends on Coach Loggins as well. Different coaches kind of like different players. And I know that Marcus Satterfield and those folks, they were really, really high on Tanner Bailey and loved Braden Davis's upside and all that. But you never know how somebody else is going to feel. I haven't heard anything to say that they don't, but change kind of brings changes that trickle down sometimes. So we'll see. I think it'll stay intact. My guess is it'll stay. These days, man, you don't say anything definitive about people getting the portal, but I feel like there's a great chance that this room stays intact through the spring, and then, whatever happens after that probably largely depends on the experience in the spring. So I think Carolina's in good shape. The one I am, everybody would say, oh, well, Doty's got to be out of here because he wants to go start. Well, I heard way different, from some contacts recently. So I feel good right now about him coming back.
Well, technically they preserved Luke Doty's redshirt year this year. So, what is it? Technically he is entering his redshirt sophomore year, even though it's his 4th year.
Yeah.
COVID year doesn't count. You redshirted him this year. So it's where we are that,
he's got 3 years left. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if he wanted to actually do that, spend one more year and then be the man in 2024, it's crazy to think about there. I'll get your take. I went through the schedule yesterday, and now that we have a little bit better ideas, some things still to change, a little more recruiting, but we'll go back through that schedule and just the way too early look at South Carolina's 2023 schedule with JC Shurburtt as we roll along. You're listening to JC, Bill Gunner, Tyler Head. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Year long, streaming live local radio, and it's free. 107.5 The Game.
Jay Phillips here for my good friends at Dan's Fan City in Harbor.
Going out, purchasing a brand new vehicle, it can be a fun, exciting experience, especially if you go to the right dealership. And that dealership should have a large selection of vehicles, like 14 acres of vehicles to be exact. They should give you the best deal possible. They shouldn't be selling above MSRP, and they should actually offer a deal where you can go to other dealerships, bring their best deal back, and they will top it, say like $1,000 low price guarantee. And most importantly, they should have a sales staff that is ready to help you, make you feel comfortable with your purchase, have knowledge about the cars, trucks, or SUVs that you're purchasing. And you know what? You can find all three of those things at Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Don't wait any longer. If you're in the market for a brand new car, truck, or SUV, Love Chevrolet has got you taken care of. Whether it's the largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands, whether it is the lowest price guaranteed, or again, that incredible sales staff ready to help you from the second you drive on the lot to the moment you drive off, thrilled with that brand new purchase. Love Chevrolet has got you covered. They've been in business for over 60 years because they've done it the right way, and that's why they'll continue to stay in business, all because of treating families like yours and mine the correct way when we go to purchase a vehicle. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
Busy morning out on the roads around the Midlands. Still have that accident of a vehicle versus a deer out at Hawks Ferry Road and 378 out in Lexington County. Accident on I-26 eastbound at the 93. Have a animal on the roadway at an old Cherokee Road and Cherokee Shores Drive out in Lexington. And that's a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we know how serious injuries change people's lives. I'm Jason Reynolds. When you're involved in a major car or truck accident, my team is on your side. You don't have to be alone. Let's do this together.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, my team is with you from start to finish. We're people with a passion for helping injured workers. Bring your case to us and stop the worrying. We've got this.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 803-779-4000.
With approved credit and bank determined down payment, call 888-320-6359 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Kia has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Kia of your dreams. JT's Kia on Killian Commons Road. JT'sKia.com.
Spectrum Business is the no-nonsense way for small businesses to stay connected. Spectrum delivers the fastest internet speeds in the nation, and Spectrum Business Connect is the all-in-one app to make calls, host video conferences, and send texts from any device, anywhere. Get both and get one mobile line free for 1 year. No contracts, no hidden fees, no nonsense. Just business. Visit spectrum.com/business today. Restrictions apply. Services not available in all areas.
Locally owned Atlantic Windows and Doors has been making Columbia area homes more comfortable, attractive, weather-tight, and energy efficient for over 35 years. How? By distributing products from the best window and door manufacturers in the country. These products give you the best looks, the best quality, and the best value, all based on your specific needs. And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet,
Studio is still pretty cold. Over here trying to build a mini fire. Apparently we don't have, you got these huge windows right here, and even if the curtains are down, it stays chilly. Could use a little space heater in here.
see all that Midstate has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com.
Guess I can put it right here.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
7:34 on your Wednesday morning commute. JC Shurburtt joining us as he does each and every week. We'll get a set schedule set up going forward here. Obviously, a lot of things happening right now, and we're kind of freelancing best we can. But JC, glad to have him back here, and he'll be a big part of the program moving forward in 2023. And speaking of moving forward, JC, one of the things that I did yesterday is just, yesterday after the national championship game, you hop on the internet, ESPN, 24/7 Sports, you go to CBS Sports, you go wherever. Everybody's got their way too early top 25s. Way, way, way too early. There's so many things still we have to work out, have to go through spring ball, a whole nother transfer portal. But if you just start looking ahead, and I think this is the interesting thing about Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells coming back, and you've got other guys on that offense. Defensively, O'Donnell Fortune finally stepped up in the bowl game and maybe showed he's a capable replacement. But if you look ahead to next year and you look at that schedule, I don't think the schedule is as daunting as maybe South Carolina fans tend to make it out to be in most years. It's actually a pretty manageable schedule, given that, I don't Mississippi State minus Mike Leach, that's a different program, entirely different animal. North Carolina lost a lot off of that defense that wasn't very good to begin with, and you open with them in Charlotte. Florida has got all kinds of issues going on right now, and they're coming off that 6-7 season. It's just an interesting, manageable schedule, it seems like, where South Carolina could continue this upward ascent under Shane Beamer.
Yeah, here's the thing. Whenever, man, it's the schedule's never as tough as it seems or easy as it seems, I think, sometimes. But yeah, I mean, not having to go to Arkansas and having Mississippi State at home in the first full year under Zach Arnett, I think certainly is a better matchup right now when you look at it. I think that, the North Carolina opener is going to be a challenge, but I think the great thing about that game, Bill, hopefully it has a good kickoff time. Every time Carolina's played the Tar Heels up there in the regular season, it's just kind of been a crappy, hot kickoff. I mean, maybe they get a night game in Charlotte because you do have, Drake May versus Spencer Rattler. That's a pretty doggone good quarterback matchup, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the opener, I think most of them, you think about it in odd numbered years. South Carolina's got to go on the road, and they play at Kyle Field, Neyland Stadium, Sanford Stadium, and then at Missouri, which has beaten them 4 times in a row. So, that if you're looking for, a damper on the enthusiasm about the schedule, there it is. And I think most people think with the changes that Jimbo Fisher made to his offense with Bobby Petrino that A&M will be better next year. Obviously, who knows with Missouri. I think Tennessee has a chance to still be good. Obviously, Joe Milton was just fine the last 2 games of the season when he started for them. I think, they're going to get some portal help and all that. The thing with them is always probably going to be defense. It's probably going to be the way it is. As long as Heupel's there. And then, boy, Georgia, I tell you, that's a gosh, you just got to give them credit. I mean, everybody was like, well, you're hiring a first-time head coach to elevate your program and you win 10 games a year. How much farther is there to go? Well, Kirby Smart's proven there was further to go with that program. Certainly the matchup with TCU was not really a favorable matchup for the Horned Frogs, but Georgia did that to a lot of people this past year, Carolina included. So it's not going to be, they're not going to Sanford like they used to. That is a daunting task. But, that's why you want Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells to come back, because they're used to competing in those types of games, those types of environments. And you just go shoot your shot. I mean, and I agree, like on paper right now, you're not sitting there going, well, they could lose their first 4 SEC games like this past year when you're looking at Arkansas, Georgia at home, at Kentucky, and then A&M at home. That got a little dicey when you looked at that, but it looks a little bit different this season. And certainly, having the game at the end of the year at home and playing Kentucky late at Williams-Brice, I think those are all things you look at and go, well, hey, this is a good change and could end up a little more manageable than maybe in years past.
And I think, again, that there's a level of confidence growing. December was odd, right? Like you mentioned the Marshawn Lloyd news kind of out of nowhere. Obviously, we just had the Jordan Birch news as well. But it doesn't feel, I think, big picture now with the Spencer Rattler news last night, it doesn't feel like the program has lost that much momentum. And I said this yesterday, Clemson's going to be the more talented team. There's no question about that. Clemson is still an uber talented team. that with the right people in place can make a run at the national championship. But JC, that one thing, kind of like beating Texas A&M, who's still going to probably be more talented than South Carolina, I don't think you fear them, maybe in the same way that you fear Georgia. Georgia has just taken a step, and I want to get into that in the next segment a little bit with you about what happened Monday night. But I don't know if there's that kind of fear there of Clemson and even a Texas A&M that maybe had been there in years past after this past season.
Yeah, you can throw Kentucky into that too, because I don't think South Carolina ever feared Kentucky. I think it was a load of a long string of frustrating losses to those guys, for lack of a better term. And now, hey, Missouri's up at the plate in that category. But yeah, Bill, I mean, you kind of look at it, and with Clemson specifically, I think that they, they're in good shape on the D-line. Obviously, they've got a heck of a D-line coming back. The thing with Clemson, they have to. They're not the same as they were on offense, and I don't know if that's by design or not. I mean, obviously, you don't always get Trevor Lawrence, and you don't always get Deshaun Watson, and you don't always get a guy like Travis Etienne at running back, though I like Will Shipley quite a bit. You don't have T. Higgins and Justin Ross before he got hurt, and Mike Williams and Nuke Hopkins and Hunter Renfrow and all those great players that they had on offense. They just don't have them anymore. And, I thought their recruiting class this year was excellent, but it was very defensive heavy, and so you kind of look at it and go, well, they're probably going to be a lot like they were this year. And so you kind of look at it that way. And who knows what both teams will be like in November of next year. But yeah, I think that when you look at it, it's a situation where, South Carolina this past year exercised a lot of defense. They turned the Tennessee series back to, that series has been going 3 wins. Tennessee was on a 3-game win streak. They broke it. Broke the streak against Clemson, broke the streak against A&M, won at Kentucky for the first time in 10 years. I mean, those 4 games alone, Bill, after all the frustration against those 4 teams, I mean, I think that's huge. And so you'd hope to continue it, and I think that there will be more confidence, against those types of opponents next season than maybe early on this year and, in years past.
He's J.C. Shurburtt joining us as he does each and every week. We'll come back. We'll get into a little big picture college football as Georgia rattles TCU on Monday night, 65-7. We'll get JC's take on the national championship game and college football going into the offseason now. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. Free of charge. In your car. Free of charge. Online. Free of charge. On the app and streaming on your smart speaker. Free of charge. 107.5 The Game.
Take a look at traffic around the Midlands. Still working an accident at I-26 at the 93 eastbound. Have another accident just ahead of that up at the 96 as well. On I-20, have an accident at the 65-mile marker, also eastbound there. Got another accident, Two Notch Road and Grampian Hills Road, as well as out in Lexington County. Got one at St. Andrews Road and Jimmy Love Lane, as well as an animal carcass out in the roadway at Old Cherokee Road and Cherokee Shores Drive. That's a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Powerball jackpot for Wednesday is $360 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See sceducationlottery.com for jackpot odds and a store near you.
Life matters. Best-selling author Chuck Swindoll explains that when he was in the Marines, they taught the troops to dig a foxhole big enough for 2 men when preparing for combat. Even the rough and ready Marines understand that few things in life are as tough as fighting a battle alone. Having a friend with you gives both of you extra strength and prevents panic when the bullets start flying. You know, the buddy system works in every aspect of life, not just combat. Your responsibilities can overwhelm you if you insist on going it alone. The Bible has a lot to say about the value of friendship. Even in the Garden of Eden, Father God said it wasn't good for Adam to be alone, so he created Eve. Jesus was called the friend of sinners. He loved to spend time with people who felt a friendship deficit. He still does, and his friendship is the greatest treasure of all. This is Stephen Chitty, pastor of Christian Life. Visit us on the web at ChristianLifeColumbia.com. Remember, life matters, and so do you. Go to clcolumbia.com for in-person and live streaming service times.
Let's text and title with approved credit. Call 866-243-4623 for details. January means resolutions. I'm not going to eat French fries. I'm going to the gym every day. Okay, good luck with that. I'm going to save money on a new car. Yes, you can at JT's Jeep Ram. Save $5,000 from MSRP on 2023 Wranglers. $5,000 off. Pay $379 a month for a Bighorn Ram or a Grand Cherokee. Make no payments till April. JT's Jeep Ram Lexington, jtsjeepram.com. Start something new sales event.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet, perhaps a leaky foundation, 356-1919 is the number to call for all your roofing and waterproofing needs. The quality and craftsmanship of a Mid-State roofing system are tops in the industry, especially commercial and industrial roofing systems. If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, then you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So the number to call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all that Mid-State has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com. Tell them, Mid-State twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
Hey, guys. This is Keenan Thompson. I have a problem with you. Yes, you. Auto Trader has millions of new and used cars.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're declining. I don't think they're nationally like they were. But the problem still is Clemson. I mean, I don't think they've got a. I think they got Notre Dame again next year.
Consider this friendship that you just learned we had officially over.
I think they've got Notre Dame as their technically their big non-conference game.
Just how does a car repair shop last in business for over 50 years like Southern Automotive? By providing affordable, reliable, and honest auto repair. But if you ask them, they'll tell you it's their loyal customers who come back time and time again to entrust them with their car repairs. Well-trained technicians, service packages, and monthly specials. Isn't it time you became a customer? Give them a call or come by at 1410 North Millwood Avenue or make an appointment at SouthernAuto.com.
Jay Phillips here for my good friends at Dan's Fan City in Harbison. Ceiling fans don't sound like something you think about a lot because you don't really need to, but when you've got them, they work well, keeping energy costs down and your comfort level up. John at Dan's Fan City wants to remind you to make your ceiling fan move in reverse this time of year to keep the heat off the ceiling. See John for any questions and for all of your ceiling fan needs. Go to Dan's
Let's see here.
Or call them at 781-FANS. You'll be glad you did.
I'm starting the new year by making.
Yeah, they play. They do. Clemson does play. I know they're early. Yeah, That's kind of my point. I'm just looking. Although you say that, Craig, Florida State. I mean, look, kind of taking advantage of South Carolina, but Florida State has upgraded their team this year. Florida State might be kind of a trendy pick.
Shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game with Phil Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on the early game. JC Shurburtt along every week, and JC, it was a very I think it was one of the lowest, if not the lowest rated television watching experiences. The national championship game on Monday night, Georgia and TCU, and Kirby Smart seemed to take particular delight in kind of proving that they are the new program. They are the new Alabama. I mean, aside from a missed extra point there at the very end, that's as dominating as a performance as I've seen in a national championship game. I'd go all the way back. I'd even go back to Nebraska in 95 when they just drilled Steve Spurrier in Florida 62-24. Jordan, now granted, whether TCU should have been there or not, I guess that's irrelevant. They earned their way into the number 3 spot, but what you've seen Kirby Smart build in Athens, can you describe that?
Well, I mean, I think he did a really good job, and it kind of is in their recruiting. They always have recruited well at Georgia, but sometimes, and I don't know if I would say I was critical, but I was skeptical. Sometimes when you come into a place and they're really in-state heavy, and you're in a state like Georgia, you start passing on Georgia kids. You're like, oh well, this could be trouble. But it's actually been smart because, in the past, I think one thing Mark Richt did at times when you'd see that program dip a little bit was, yes, rankings wise, they would always have 10 of the top 15 or whatever from the state, but they weren't always the best players in the state. So I think having sort of a more narrow, more selective focus, and then, heck, man, I mean, you look Blake Bowers from Folsom, California, I mean, he may be the best all-around player in college football. Going and finding him, getting a Darnell Washington out of Vegas. You look at him heading into next year, and the transfer portal, they have Dominic Lovett from Missouri, Ra Thomas from Mississippi State coming in. Will the quarterback be back next year? Will he Vandergriff? I mean, what happens with that position? But Stetson Bennett certainly is one of the best stories in the history of this game. Max Duggan as well, but you can't really argue with what Stetson Bennett's been doing. And I think their play caller, Todd Monken's been in the zone. I think Will Muschamp, I know people probably don't want to hear me say this, but that's his third national championship ring as a D coordinator. So I think that's something to be said for that, right? And they're just kind of at that level now, and that's probably really, Bill, one of the most difficult things to do when you take over a program that's been winning. You don't really have that far to go. You beat Alabama. It was kind of the cry. And then they finally did last year. And that kind of opened the floodgates. Of course, they avoided the tide this season. But, I think that they have indeed elevated that program. And got to keep it moving. Got to keep on hitting on recruits and making sound decisions in the portal and finding guys. And I think they can keep right on keeping on. I know that Florida and Tennessee and the Gamecocks and everybody else in that division, while there is that division, you're probably going, we'd like to knock them off. But, for right now, they are a very deserving two-time national champion. I mean, you can't really argue any other way. And Kirby did it. Like I said, they didn't have that far to go. And that's hard to get that extra way. I mean, there's plenty of programs that are capable of winning 9 and 10 games every year with the type of resources Georgia has. But to take it to that next level, I think is outstanding.
The ACC, real quick, the team who seems to be, you correct me if I'm wrong, making the most noise here in the offseason is Florida State. Jared Verse is back. He was a projected first-round pick. We know about Jaheim Bell. They just picked up Gilbert Edmond. Florida State's done a really good job in the transfer portal. They come off of a 10-win season there. They are just outside the top 10. I don't want to ask the question. I hate those questions. Is Florida State back? But are you willing to say Florida State is getting closer to being a national contender, or are they just still kind of treading water now? Where do you go with Florida State in that ACC? And again, way too early, looking ahead to challenging Clemson next year in their division.
Well, I mean, if there's a team I think can do it, it's FSU. I think they have to go to Clemson next season. And I'm not sure, in the ACC, are they doing away with division starting next year?
Correct. Yes.
Because we could see
that's true about the
Florida State, part 1 and part 2, and have them in Charlotte again. And I know Florida State's confident. I think they felt like they kind of had a bad stretch in that game against the Tigers this year. Red doesn't like that too much, and but then played well otherwise. And they had, this year, if you look at what kind of their results, Bill, they had a 3-game losing streak and finished. They lost to NC State, Clemson, and Wake. NC State, Clemson in that order, and then rebounded. And I think, with that program, culture and confidence, the two C's, were very important. And I think Norvell has had to dig out of a culture hole and also a confidence situation with a lot of those players because they just weren't playing football like that program's accustomed to. So we'll see. And if I did have to pick an ACC team that could possibly do it next year this early, it would definitely be them.
We will continue discussing this. We got 9 more months, but we will continue getting into some other things. JC will join us again next week. We'll get back on a regular schedule. Buddy, appreciate you. Appreciate Red's final thoughts there. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Thank you. Y'all be good.
You too. JC Shurburtt of thebigspur.com. Head on over there. A lot of reaction today to South Carolina's huge, can't understate huge enough, victory over Kentucky last night. 71-68. We'll continue talking about that. Spencer Rattler's decision. Oh, it was a great night for Gamecock fans. Absolutely fantastic night. Heath Cline will join us here in about 20 minutes as well in studio. We'll catch up with him. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
WNKT-FM Eastover, Columbia, your home of the Gamecock. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus media station.
Text entitled with credit call 888-411-7640 for details. January means resolutions. I'm not going to eat French fries. I'm going to go to the gym every day. Right. Good luck with those. I'm going to save money on a new car. Yes, you can. At JT's Dodgeland, save $5,000 from MSRP on new Challengers. $5,000 off. Pay $379 a month for a Bighorn Ram. $379 a month? That's insane. Make no payments till April. JT's Dodgeland on Greystone. JT'sDodge.com. Start something new sales.
If you have tax problems, it can affect all aspects of your life. Now's the time to do something about it. Hi, I'm local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. Everyone at our firm truly believes we can improve the lives of our clients by eliminating the stress and worry of IRS tax problems. We're a local South Carolina law firm dedicated to resolving your tax problems for good. Simply put, we solve tax problems. So if you're facing IRS tax liens, bank or wage levies, or have years of unfiled tax returns, come meet with us in person. Your first visit is free and confidential. We'll show you how we will solve your problem and how much it'll cost. So don't put it off any longer. Call us now at 803-771-9800. That's 803-771-9800. Or go to our website at irsproblemsolving.com. It is time to do something about that tax problem. Your solution is right here in South Carolina, so hire a South Carolina attorney. Hire me.
Experience the future of connectivity with Spectrum One. You get Spectrum Internet delivering the fastest speeds in the nation for $49.99 a month. Advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced privacy and security, free for 12 months. And a Spectrum mobile line with unlimited talk, text, and data, plus nationwide 5G, free for 12 months. That's Spectrum One. Visit Spectrum.com or your local Spectrum store today. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
Have the fall leaves clogged your gutters? Look for the guys in the powdered blue trucks. Let the guttermen clean them out. The pros at the Guttermen can keep you out of the gutter. Call 803-791-7147 or thegutterman.com.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment.
Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by the power of Love Chevrolet. Things are good and only getting better. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands. And we're ordering new vehicles every day. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads. The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
I'm not going to lie. When you go outside and you leave your key card inside and you get stuck outside, it doesn't make that's. I guess poetic justice is the right word for that.
I
Karma?
I thought I heard knocking out there.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
The building does not open, I guess, officially until 7 a.m. So you have to have your key card to get in. So the next thing I know, I'm stranded out there, and the security guard is, and so the security guard's not too concerned with letting the radio host back into the. Hey, buddy, yes. So I'm out there shivering.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
107.5 The Game.
And it comes into Reeves. Back to Wheeler. And Severe Wheeler brings it into the front court. Has it on the near side wing. Drives over to Frederick. Three right side. Too strong. Sheboy offensive rebound. Needs to give it to a guard. Does so with 5 seconds left. Reeves tries a three. That's short. Rebound loose on the floor. And that'll do it. You can put Spurs on this one. The Gamecocks hold on and upset Kentucky 71-68. The Wildcats got multiple looks at it in their final possession, but the Gamecocks defended well and didn't give up anything clean. And just by the hair of their chinny chin chin, South Carolina holds on for the rarest of things, a victory in Rupp Arena, breaking the Wildcats' 28-game home.
That was the call last night. Derek Scott, Casey Manning, right here on 107.5 at the game as they counted down the final seconds. And South Carolina goes into Rupp Arena just 2 wins prior to last night. That huge win in 95, I think, 96. I forget the exact year, with Melvin Watson, B.J. Mackey, Larry Davis stomping all over Big Blue Nation on senior day. I remember I couldn't drive. I know that. That was prior to little Bill Gunner having a driver's license. And then in 2009, I could drive, and I was covering South Carolina and Kentucky. It was Darren Horn's, I believe, first year, and the Gamecocks would go on to a record of 21-8, and one of those 21 victories was going up to Kentucky, and it was a fantastic game. South Carolina won 78-77 over a Billy Gillespie-led Kentucky team. In that particular game, Patrick Patterson had 28 points for Kentucky, but it wasn't enough. Devin Downey hit a shot there in the final seconds. Sam Frederick poured in 24 that night. Downey had 23 that afternoon, even a Mike Holmes sighting with 15 points. And South Carolina back in 2009 picked up their second victory at Rupp Arena. And last night, behind 26 points from Meechie Johnson, behind 16 from G.G. Jackson, behind a nice performance by Josh Gray on the interior, being physical and doing his best to limit Oscar Sheetway, the Gamecocks 71-68 victors up at Rupp Arena. Again, just the third victory there. And as you heard Derek Scott calling it, South Carolina, right now they're in the process of ending streaks. Broke that Texas A&M win streak over the Gamecocks earlier this year, or back, I should say, last year. We're in a different year now, back in 2022. Clemson watched their 40-game win streak at Memorial Stadium come to a screeching halt at the hands of Spencer Rattler, Shane Beamer, and South Carolina. And last night, Kentucky's 28-game home winning streak at Rupp comes to a screeching halt with Meechie Johnson hitting three-pointers basically from outside of the building. There was a couple threes that he let fly that I'm pretty sure Lamont Paris went, no. Okay, that'll work. Yes, let's take that one. That's a good one. Great shots from him. Tyler, that was the thing with Meechie last night. The young man has no fear in shooting. He was 6 of 10 from three-point range, but he also doesn't have a concept that you can get a little bit closer to that three-point line to let it go. Or maybe that's just this distance. Maybe he just likes being 4 feet behind the three-point line. Whatever he likes, it worked perfectly last night.
You know, sometimes you just try and see how far you can get back before you just can't make it anymore. But going back to what you said a moment ago, mentioning that you were there for that last win in Rupp back in 2009, obviously this year's Kentucky team isn't a world-beating Kentucky team. They are certainly down, struggling in conference play so far, but you've been in Rupp Arena. To describe to somebody that hasn't been there how raucous of an environment that is and how tough it would be for South Carolina team to go on the road, no matter how good Kentucky is, and win in that environment.
It's a great event. Last night's attendance was listed over 19,000 people there. I think it was 19,393 is what I actually saw as the listed attendance, and 19,393 is exactly right. The thing about last night is South Carolina punched Kentucky in the mouth. Heath Cline will join us here in about 10 minutes, and I heard Heath talking yesterday about getting this Kentucky team at a time where they seem to be at their lowest. They're coming off a 26-point loss to Alabama. There are Kentucky fans questioning John Calipari. There are rumors that Texas is going to make a move on John Calipari. And last night, if you didn't see it, it was actually a Kentucky fan in the stands holding a "Please go to Texas" sign, and he was escorted out of the building per more pictures that I saw from people that were there. This is a Kentucky team that's right now, I don't want to, free fall seems like a strong word, but they are definitely in a state of disarray. And I think one thing that you go back to last night that happened that was perfect. South Carolina, coming off their own whipping just a few days ago, South Carolina came out and punched Kentucky in the mouth right out of the gate. As a matter of fact, if you heard it, 71-68 when Kentucky cut it to 3 there in the final seconds. That was the closest the game had been since 5-2. South Carolina comes right out of the gate and jumps all over Kentucky. Meechie Johnson got it going with the three-pointer to get it going. Hayden Brown makes a layup. It's 5-0 before a minute can be played. And then South Carolina would continue to build that lead and get it all the way up to 13-2. So you play the first 4.5 minutes. Kentucky's already having issues. They're already mentally questioning themselves. The fans are questioning the team. And you come out of the gate and you slap them around like that. You grab them by the shirt and you just start smacking them in the face. That's tough. And it took the crowd out of it. And you could hear it on TV as soon as I got there. There were times Kentucky made a run, and you could see that. There were times Kentucky made a run and you hear the crowd, or the crowd felt, hey, this is a moment we need to get into it. But one thing I'll say is, and this is a full credit to Lamont Paris for having his team ready to go from the second they came out of the starting lineups and was taking the court. They were ready to play, and Kentucky wasn't. Full credit to Lamont Paris for having his team off of that awful loss on Saturday. Full credit to reinstilling confidence, getting guys to buy back in, getting guys to believe that this system will work, and full credit to him for getting Gigi Jackson to overcome what was, I would imagine Gigi Jackson. I'd be interested to ask him the last time he didn't score in a game. Little League.
It's probably been a while if it's ever happened at all.
I would assume Gigi, there's probably not been a game since it might have been 9, 10, 11 where he didn't score in a game. And you're right, there may not be a game for a kid that talented where he's never scored. For him to come back, and that is a difficult place to play. And for whatever reason, maybe Meechie Johnson played an AAU tournament in there because boy did he feel at home with the rims last night. But you took the crowd out of it early, and you forced the crowd to kind of generate their own energy, because you never let Kentucky get going last night. They just never got going. And every time they kind of chipped away at it, coming out to start the second half, Tyler, I thought, Kentucky's down 10. And I thought, all right, they'll come out to start the second half. They'll be ready to go. They'll find that energy. They'll get the crowd into it. And sure enough, they come right out. And within the first 2 minutes, they've cut it to 6. And it looks like, but not only did they cut it to 6, they've got the ball with a chance to cut it to 4. Sheetway missed a kind of an easy layup, and then Gigi Jackson got it, drives down, makes a layup. All of a sudden, it goes to 44-36. Next thing you know, Jackson makes another layup, and it's back to 10. And every time Kentucky looked like they might be able to generate some momentum, South Carolina did something to stop it cold in its tracks.
Yeah, South Carolina never stopped fighting last night. And, the first half was great. And if in the second half, Kentucky went on a run and ended up winning by 10 points, I don't think anybody would have been shocked by it. And you still would have come away as a South Carolina fan feeling good about the performance that you put in. But they kept on fighting. Like you said, for every time Kentucky threw a punch, they threw another one right back. And that's, kind of shows the resiliency and the ability of Lamont Paris to make these guys refocus after that embarrassment on Saturday. And again, I don't think anybody's sitting here saying that they're going to suddenly win 8 or 10 conference games now, but you feel a little bit better going forward about, how, as opposed to how we were feeling just a few days ago coming off the Tennessee loss.
Yeah, it's, be clear, this is a program win. I don't know how much it impacts this season because I don't expect South Carolina to just get hot. Lamont Paris said it, I think, a month and a half ago, maybe even back at the Charleston Classic, that this first year they were learning each other. They were still developing and things that were taking place. And as he pointed out, he said, well, some nights we're going to look like the Harlem Globetrotters. Some nights we're going to look like the Washington Generals. Well, you've seen both ends of the spectrum on a Saturday and on Tuesday. But I tell you what, as a South Carolina fan, I don't care. I don't care what Kentucky is, what they're not this year.
Right.
Going up there and winning in Rupp Arena is a reason to wear your garnet and black around town today, puff your chest out, and be very excited. The other reason to do that, Spencer Rattler's back. Now, I don't know on November 14th, post-Florida game, if people would have been particularly excited about this. That's kind of the funny thing. November 14th, maybe we're all feeling a little bit different. On January 11th, everybody is ready for Spencer Rattler to come back and Dow Loggins to get to work with Rattler, with Juice Wells, with that offensive line, with new wide receivers, Trey Knox coming in through the transfer portal. You do have to find a running back. But the bottom line is that was the other big news last night. And South Carolina fans now, I think, will have higher expectations, will feel better about football season, and will genuinely be excited. I don't think they're going to go to Nashville. I don't think Nashville is where SEC media days are in July. I don't think we're going up there and people saying South Carolina is a dark horse contender to win the East.
Right.
But there's going to be a feeling of, all right, this program really could have a big 2023 in store.
Yeah, and it's all about taking steps forward. And, with Shane Beamer going into his third year, you build upon the 8-win season. You build upon going to a good bowl game against a very good, Notre Dame team and just coming up short there. And, another year of Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells, meshing together with Dow Loggins as the new offensive coordinator. You never know what can happen. Just as long as you're not regressing, I think fans are going to be okay.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. Marshall asking, who would Kentucky go after if they did move on from John Calipari? Asking that on the Firehouse Subs text line. Who knows? I'd tell you who I would go after. It's the guy who just pounded them by 26 on Saturday. I'd go get Nate Oates. Nate Oates right now is going to be a very hot commodity for any blue blood that opens up. Maybe Texas. If I were Texas, I'd probably be looking at him as opposed to John Calipari, but we'll see what happens with that. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for Gamecocks all year long. Streaming live local radio. And it's free. 107.5 The Game.
Busy morning out on the roads. Got a couple accidents to report out in Lexington County at Maple Road and Mineral Springs Road. Have a vehicle that's hit a deer out in Richland County at Hardscrabble Road and Mann Road. Another accident out on the interstate. That's I-26 at the 96 on the eastbound side of the interstate. And another accident going to be at 2 Notch Road and Grampian Hills Road. That's a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. Week 18 game balls go to Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts for securing their respective top seeds. San Fran safety Tayshaun Gibson and Buffalo Stephon Diggs and Naheem Hines helped earn second seeds. Running back Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith led Pete Carroll Seahawks to their first post-Russell Wilson playoffs. And finally, special game balls to the Buffalo and Cincinnati medical first responders. I'm Boomer Esiason. CBS Sports
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with high-quality supplies for every industry, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Sponsored by Lowe's. Save big store-wide at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. For a limited time, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Shop the event in-store or online today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Kia doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars, and he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of at JT's Kia. Killian Commons Road, jtskia.com.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
When your business information is missing or inconsistent across the internet, search engines won't find you, and customers won't either. Help ensure customers see you and not your competitors. Boost your findability. Cumulusboost.com. CUMULUS Boost.com.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. You know, one of the reasons we all live here in South Carolina is the weather, right? We love being outside as often as we can, and these days, Integrated Media is enhancing that life by installing amazing outdoor home theater systems to give you the best of both worlds. Amazing picture and sound from equipment built to be outside. From completely weatherproof SunBright TVs to Sonos soundbars or in-ground speakers and subwoofers, Integrated Media can completely change how you and your family enjoy time on the deck, patio, or around the pool. Call 803-948-8327. Let Integrated Media come out to your house, see exactly what they can do for you when it comes to an outdoor system. And when you couple it with Integrated Media's professional-grade Wi-Fi, you won't believe the home theater experience is just as good outside. Check out some of their work on Facebook and Instagram. Then call 803-948-8327. Home theater Wi-Fi that works everywhere, home security, and much more. Do it all better with Integrated Media.
The approved credit and bank determined down payment. Call 888-411-7640 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Dodge Land has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Ram or Dodge of your dreams. Dodge Land on Greystone, jtsdodge.com. Start something new sales event.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
You know, I think everybody's going to kind of stick with it, give it a chance, maybe reassess after spring. I think it's almost impossible these days, Bill, to avoid attrition from your quarterback room, especially when you recruit well, because guys do want to play. And I don't know that patience is an emphasized virtue these days, right, with anybody. And so, you know, it wasn't surprising. Now I will say this: I did pick up some information that I feel, and again, you never know. People may change their mind, whatever. I feel pretty good about Luke Doty returning. I do, based on some things I've picked up. I think he's happy at Carolina. Wants to be a Gamecock, is willing to kind of wait his turn. And then there's a guy that's kind of thrown into it, you know. And I thought that, you know, it wasn't a huge sample size against, you know, people starting defenses, but I thought he looked way more comfortable this year than he did in previous years. And that's from the spring game all the way up. And so I like the chances of him returning. You know, Tanner Bailey, Braden Davis, all those guys, you know, I haven't heard anything about them leaving, but, you know, that old saying, something's got to give. Sometimes something's got to give when you're at that position. And there's a lot of guys that have a lot of upside and ability in that room. And we'll see. And some depends on Coach Loggins as well. You know, different coaches kind of like different players. And I know that Marcus Satterfield and those folks, they were really, really high on Tanner Bailey and loved Braden Davis's upside and all that. But you never know how somebody else is going to feel. You know, I haven't heard anything to say that they don't. But you know, change kind of brings changes that trickle down sometimes. So we'll see. I think it'll stay intact.
That is J.C. Shurburtt about an hour ago joining me here on the early game, 107.5 The Game, talking about the quarterback situation last night. Spencer Rattler making the announcement that he will return to South Carolina. Heath Cline stepping in studio with me. We'll get to him in just a second. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines real quick. Ray wants to weigh in on a very nice, very fun night for South Carolina last night. Ray, how you doing this morning?
Hey, doing good, guys. But absolutely, what a day yesterday was to be a Gamecock. I mean, to use a term from thoroughbred gambling, I guess we can say, we hit the trifecta. I mean, with the football team, you know, finishing in the top 25, which is, you know, absolutely huge. I mean, it's so much better to finish in the top 25 to be one of the teams that's like, you know, freaking 26 and 30. I mean, that is absolutely special. For the basketball team to go into Rupp Arena and get a win after the way we performed, you know, against Tennessee Saturday, you know, here in Columbia. I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, just fantastic. And then you top it off with Rattler coming back. I mean, man, what a day it was yesterday to be a Gamecock. And to talk a little bit more about the basketball team. I mean, they really played with a lot of motion on offense, a lot of movement. You know, you hear old basketball coaches say, you know, you can't just stand around in basketball. You got to be moving with the ball, without the ball. And it seemed to create a lot of set shots. And I mean, God, anybody would tell you all the studies they've done on shooting a basketball, the chances of the ball going in when you catch a set shot where you catch it and you can shoot it one motion, opposed to try to dribble and create a shot. It was unbelievable. And what is showing. And I mean, we played with such motion. I'm trying to think of the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Got movement. Let's just say there was just great movement. And who knows? Maybe this is something that will kick this team off. And to be honest with you, I'll be quite frank. After Saturday, I was wondering if we could win a conference game. And I look back on it, we have beaten Clemson and Kentucky in basketball this year. And heck, this thing gets 5 or 6 conference wins this year, I'll be thrilled. But anyhow, it was just a great day yesterday to be a Gamecock fan. I just wanted to put that in. Thanks.
Appreciate the phone call, Ray. Heath, I listened to you a little bit yesterday. You were trying to, I think, put it in context about the mountain that South Carolina was about to climb at Rupp Arena last night. The point spread, 19.5 to 20.5. There was no money line even on it, even if you just wanted to maybe bet $1,000 to win $20 just to feel good about yourself, which would have been risky. Coming off of that game on Saturday at Kentucky, as you mentioned yesterday, they were kind of in a bad spot too. They'd had a 26-point loss, but still the turnaround. You got to give Lamont Paris a lot of credit for somehow refocusing this team to go into that environment against a team with its back against the wall.
Yeah, it's a heck of a job to do that, because you do wonder mentally where this team is, especially when you consider what they have been. Now, the last time out against Vanderbilt, they were tied at the half, tied at the end of regulation, and then wind up taking the L, but competed on the road in a way they had not done away from Colonial Life in any game all year except for Georgetown. I mean, there's a team that got smoked in the first half against George Washington. I mean, that's where things were getting alarming, where you're like, okay, you know, this can't happen. You can't look like this on the road against a team that's from outside the SEC, hadn't been a Power 5 team in years. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that was alarming. And so to get them to the point where you were struggling so badly, whether it was on a neutral court, I mean, for Pete's sake, ECU, who is viewed as a very similar team to them, has a 1.5-point spread in that game on a neutral court in Greenville. And ECU's nuking them in the first half to get them to the point where now back-to-back road games in the SEC, in, for different reasons, notoriously tricky places to play. You've gone to overtime and now won wire-to-wire against a team in Kentucky that's unquestionably more talented than you, even though there's huge questions about them as a team. Absolutely, that's a sign of finding an issue and fixing it. Now, you know, it is hilarious, Bill. And look, if you're a fan, I get it. You're a fan. You're supposed to think different than me. I'm Mr. Analytical, logical guy over here who doesn't do stuff with my heart. That's my job. Your job is love your team and be intense about it. I get it. But I swear, there's no fan base like this one, Bill, that just puts itself through just the whip around constantly from we're doomed to look out, baby. Here we come. I mean, I have had people for the last month, we're not going to win a conference game. We might win one conference game. I'm like, you're going to win conference games. Frank Martin's first team was nothing to crow about. You still won 4 or 5 conference games. I can't remember off the top of my head. Last year, Tom Crean captaining the Death Ship. That was like their poster last year. You have each school has a poster. The Georgia poster was actually them on the Titanic. That was the poster of the Georgia basketball team last year. And they still won a conference game. You're going to win some conference games, especially after Saturdays. We're not going to win any conference games. This is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. Last night, people, can we go 500 in the conference? No, you're not going 500 in the conference. What Frank Martin in these last few years did was really impressive. The consistency they had in the SEC, whatever your other flaws were, that's been the thing this program has done well, is consistently with the one COVID year aside, competed in the SEC. This year, if you get to 5, it's going to have been a good year. Mm-hmm. This is a strong SEC. You will have worked to grind out those 5 games. Just try and appreciate each game for what it is. Look for progress. And last night, Bill, that was big-time progress without getting caught up in all this other stuff. By the way, JC, you and I know JC. You've known JC longer than me and probably more closely day-to-day than me because you literally work for the man. I've had JC on my show a few times. JC, I don't know if it's morning JC. I don't know if it's happy, domesticated, and love JC. You got like the Spartanburg McConaughey JC. Like, well, Bill,
that's right.
Got my dog in the background. Me, I've got JC. And those pinheads, I'll beat the brains out.
Got to remember, he's an hour behind us up in Chicago, so we're having to get him up and going.
You got mellow, JC. Me and JC, I'm like, okay, man, we have to fight some guys in the parking lot? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, we get it. That's what happens when you get him from technically his 6 to 7 o'clock hour. He's trying to still get it out. Back to the basketball thing. The best thing look, this program has to recruit better. Okay, they've got to. I mean, if you're going to win, you've got to get players, and you're gonna have to do some in the portal. You got the young man right down the road who I joke, or I'm being serious, is trying to live up to my fine name at Lexington High School, Cam Scott, as he tries to replicate all the great things I did there 20 years ago. But you got to get him. You got Kyle Green, who's originally from right here in town, who's over at Pace Academy in Atlanta, is a very good point guard. The fact that you were able to take G.G. Jackson from one of the worst performances he's probably ever had in life. Tyler and I were talking about this. I don't know when the last time in a game he might not have scored. It might have been like 9-10-year-old basketball. And Saturday was as bad a performance for G.G. Jackson. If you wanted to crush a young man, you put him against those kids from Tennessee who are physically, athletically, they're dominant. That's a national championship team. And he grabs just 1 rebound, doesn't make a shot. For him to come back last night, I think that's something you can take away from the game and say, all right, Lamont, whether it was mentally or challenging him in practice, he can go recruit some really good players to build this roster and say, hey, look, this kid stunk. We somehow got him back to a very nice performance last night.
Yeah, and look, we've talked about this before. The track record on this, kids with similar talent to Gigi, guys that are viewed as lottery pick players that come to skip that last year and come to college a year early, it has not been very good. And so far, he is by far outperforming, even with the showing like last week on Saturday. He is outperforming a lot of guys who tried to do what he does. It hasn't happened that often, but when it has, it's frequently been pretty tough on the kid. And give Gigi, first of all, credit for how many kids in this situation might go and quit on their team altogether. And for Pete's sake, at Arkansas, it sure looks like Nate Smith may not be back. And his agents maybe tell him, hey, you played 5 good games. That's good enough. You don't owe these guys anything. Just you focus on you. You had a guy float the idea last week that, hey, he might want to quit. Well, clearly that's not a dude last night that's quitting. That's a guy who, when people, at least some people were trying to whisper in your ear, you don't have to care about the team. You don't need to play. Think about you. You just got embarrassed and you went out and answered the bell with a really strong showing. I mean, he's going to the basket. He's draining critical threes. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see growth. Again, super talented player, still an 18-year-old in the SEC that should be in high school. You're going to have bumps in the road, but that's what you love, Bill. You love to see when somebody has a bump. It's a bump. It's not a pit.
Well, that's to me, going back to what you said. Yeah, I don't, JC and I were kind of talking about it. I don't expect last night to turn into some kind of monstrous run through January and February. And we're going up to Nashville for the SEC basketball tournament going, boy, if they can win 2, get your dancing shoes ready. No, I think this is going to be a one-game sample, but as Ray, who called it, you can enjoy the Clemson win. Clemson's turning out to be a very good basketball team, and you beat them at home, 60-58. I was there when Devin Downey hit the shot against, I think it was a Billy Gillespie run Kentucky team. Those were the finer Kentucky teams always known of. But Zam Frederick had 24 that afternoon. Downey had 23, hit a shot in the lane. South Carolina beat Kentucky. And then I remember being a young kid watching on television when Melvin Watson, B.J. Mackey, and Larry Davis ran all over what would later become a national championship. They lost to Arizona that year. They lost to Arizona, lost to Bibby, Michael Dickerson, and Miles Simon in the championship game that year. But that was a very good Kentucky team. So I've seen the 3 wins over Kentucky at Rupp Arena. It doesn't happen often. You enjoy it while it happens, and you realize there's still a lot of growth to be with this program.
Yeah, look, one of the things we've talked about, too, with this team is that you just have this bizarre set of circumstances where you have a team that got taken down just about to the foundation, as close to it as you can with what was coming back and a bunch of guys that are coming in and played together, even if they had experience in college basketball. And then you also inject into that a 17-year-old touted lottery pick who anybody who knows anything would say highly unlikely to play more than 1 year of college basketball. So you simultaneously have to develop that young man, make sure he has a good experience, because what his experience is so critical to the recruiting of kids like you're talking about here in state. You do not want people throwing in your face, hey, they had the number 1 pick in the draft and they ruined him. So you got to make sure Gigi Jackson has a good, productive year, but you're not laying groundwork for the future because you're not going to have Gigi Jackson or anyone like Gigi Jackson, more than likely, in the next couple of years. So that's a really tough balancing act for Paris. And one of the things that you need to find is something that when you come out of this year, you're not starting back at 0 again next year. And I think what Michi Johnson's doing right now, who has years of eligibility, that's enormous for them now. Whatever else next year's team is, you've got a guy who should be your leader, who should be that established first option. I think that's a big deal too.
803-404-6100. If you want to send us a text on the Firehouse Subs text line, we'll get to that this morning. Heath Cline joining us for the remainder of the hour. You're listening to Heath, Bill, producer Tyler Head. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is omnipresent and free of charge. Free of charge. In your car. Free of charge. Online. Free of charge. On the app and streaming on your smart speaker. Free of charge. 107.5 The Game.
Keeping a clean home, it's something you love to maybe make a New Year's resolution about. It's kind of like getting to the gym, eating healthier, sleeping more. Well, guess what? Keeping the clean home, the easiest of all those resolutions. Why? Because you have the help of Zero Res with their patented ZR water technology. Superior, long-lasting clean that keeps your home looking beautiful for weeks on end. And you can take advantage right now. You can get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus. When you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. So go ahead and make that phone call today, 803-262-4020, or again, schedule with ease online, zerorescolumbia.com. Just make sure you mention my name, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And again, just mention my name, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game. You get a hallway cleaned for free. So don't wait any longer. Give Zero Res a call, 803-262-4020. Schedule with ease online, zerorescolumbia.com. Make good on that New Year's resolution to keep the house clean. Use Zero Res. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Let's take a look at your traffic around the Midlands. Got some debris in the roadway on I-77. That's going to be near the 2-mile marker on the northbound side of the interstate. Got an accident out in Richland County, Hardscrabble Road and Man Road. That's actually a vehicle versus a deer, so be on the lookout for that. Out in Calhoun, have another accident. That's going to be at I-26 eastbound at the 125. And that's a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
With approved credit and bank determined down payment, call 866-243-4623 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Jeep Ram in Lexington has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Jeep or Ram of your dreams. JT's Jeep Ram Lexington, JT'sJeepRam.com. Start something new sales event.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WIN for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WIN for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WIN.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
Hi, everybody. This is Woody Wyndham here to talk about Pioneer Tree Service. Pioneer Tree Service has more than 4 decades of helping homeowners maintain and manage trees on their property. Their skilled crew offers customized solutions that match your needs and budget. Tree trimming and tree removal can be dangerous. You need to trust the people that are doing the job. Before attempting to remove limbs, call Pioneer Tree Service for a free quote. They remove limbs safely and make sure that future growth is directed away from potential trouble areas such as roof lines and driveways. Cutting down trees takes more than a chainsaw. Even branches can weigh thousands of pounds, and their removal must be handled with care. Pioneer Tree Service offers a full complement of state-of-the-art heavy equipment, from track hose to bucket trucks to safely remove trees and stumps from your property. And no matter where you live, the Gantt girls can get there. And I want you to call them at 803-794-8253.
Plus text and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. January means resolutions. I'm not going to eat french fries. I'm going to the gym every day. Right, good luck with those. I'm not going to pay over MSRP for my new Kia. Now that's a resolution you can keep. At JT's Kia, check our website, jtskia.com, for huge savings. Over 300 new Kias available. And the best part, make no payments till April. JT's Kia, Killian Commons Road, jtskia.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
(803-404-6100). If you want to join us this morning, as always, you can go on our live stream. Go to youtube.com, search 107.5 The Game, click join, subscribe, be a part of the program. Rick, Patrick, Randy, David, Craig, York, all in there and chatting sports. One thing real quick, we'll get into football. I just want to, Heath, you love sports and you follow this stuff, and you also have you can have a weird sense of humor about this kind of stuff. This Carlos Correa story, this is kind of like, I mean, and the only reason I brought it up is during the break, I was sitting here watching, you'd stepped out of the studio, and they had the little timeline of events where he's going from making $350 million over 13 years to now $200 million over 6 years. I guess it's not like the lottery. Last night, nobody won the lottery, by the way. Now $1.35 billion. Get your tickets and prepare accordingly.
You know that there's a guy, by the way, who hasn't been willing to play yet. He's like, well, now I got to buy tickets. 1.1 wasn't enough to turn my head, but 1.35. All right. All right. I'll do it now.
Yeah. Tyler says that's him. He's like, yeah, he's going to.
I'm always fascinated by the people who do this crap. I mean, look, your odds are the same of winning, and it's zero, no matter what the dollars are. And yet you've got some of these people that, it's 800. Well, now I'll be glad to set my money on fire. I mean, sounds good.
1 point. Nobody wins last night.
10 million's just not enough for me, Bill. I need more.
In a fit of boredom, I have looked up exactly what you make off of this kind of stuff. Like we won't go down this path, but it is $1.35 billion. All right, that is the total sum. The cash option, if you just want to say, hey, give me all my money right now, the cash option is $707.9 million. Now, after you pay your 44% taxes, 37 federal, 7% state, you're taking home 56%. You take your cash home, you are making $396 million.
And there are people listening to us right now, Tyler, that have sat in their car. They're saying, well, I know what I'm going to do because with the taxes, it's better to do this or that. And they've looked this up and they've thought about this. They haven't thought about their own retirement plan, but they have invested mental energy into I had a guy tell me one time.
You're looking at one of those too right here. I've looked at this.
I swear to you, this is the truth. It's like, what you got to do is you got to establish a corporation. It's like, yes, that's what you've got to do. Establish a corporation to cash your ticket. I'm glad you put the time in on this.
Hey, I always got to be prepared.
That's right. Never know. When the moment comes, you don't want to panic and just give me $10.
Whenever in your life you say, I don't have enough time for whatever it was, working out, whatever. If you have ever spent 5 minutes worrying about setting up your lottery corporation, you had time.
Trust. It's a trust. You got to set up a trust, actually.
Of course, yes. Got to get those details right.
Carlos Correa, real quick. I mean, neither of us are. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but this actually has been an entertaining story to see a guy who clearly has some kind of significant injury that you've watched him. I don't know what he's technically lost, 13 years, 350 down to 6 years, 200. But now the Giants and the Mets, he's going to re-sign with the Twins, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Twins didn't check the Carfax. I don't know. All joking aside, I mean, look, the big question here seems to be there's something with the ankle, and none of us are doctors. No one's able to explain whatever it is that they see that alarms them. Clearly, he's played at a high level still. So I think it goes back to, if you're the Twins, two things. One, you already had him last year, so you were able to see him and know, all right, you seem like he was playing fine to us. And two, for the Twins, getting a player like Correa to choose to sign in Minnesota is a really hard thing to do. Whereas if you're the Giants, you're the Mets, you will have more superstars that want to sign to play in those two markets. You don't need to take a chance on a guy for 10 plus years if you've got any question. Whereas if you're the Twins, 6 years, I think you feel pretty good that he's going to make it 6 years, or if he doesn't, then he'll give you enough at least that you'll get your money's worth out of the contract. It's just more of a gamble worth taking for them. But it has been funny. Somebody was saying, man, the shortstop market is great. Look at the last 3 contracts for shortstops. And of course, they were all Carlos Correa shortstop contracts.
Best story I've heard so far on the, you get these weird Twitter conspiracy theories, is that he suffered the injury. And even though it's not technically his twin, his brother, Jean Carlos, has filled in for him. And of course,
it's like a Nikki Sixx thing with Motley Crue. They brought
somebody.
him back.
Somebody's like, so you're saying the brother's so good that he wasn't able to make it on his own and play at a high level. He was just able to be the twin. Nobody wanted the brother until he just used his brother's name. That's a weird situation, and to watch that play out, because we've seen stuff like that with contracts where, especially in the NFL, where somebody doesn't pass the physical and then things go downhill. To watch it happen twice now with the Giants and then with the Mets. Now it looks like back to the Twins, just kind of an odd story.
Well, I will say this, as a Cubs fan, look, Dansby Swanson will help the Cubs. Let's just say if we gotten Correa for 6 years, $200 million, I think I'd be more excited about that deal than the one they did with Dansby.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yesterday, Spencer Rattler announcing that he will come back. That's far bigger news than Carlos Correa around here. I heard you yesterday trying to talk about the Vancouver Canucks, and I thought that was fantastic until you went, I don't know what they're doing. I was like, oh, I could figure that out in a second. But Spencer Rattler, obviously the big news yesterday. This is where you mentioned fan. You were talking about Kentucky or beating Kentucky. Fans now, and I did this yesterday. I went through the schedule, and we don't know. It's January 11th. No clue how things are going to play out. The schedule's not as daunting next year as I think some people would want you to believe. There is a chance to build upon 8 wins this year by having a strong 2023, and Spencer Rattler's a big part of that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this isn't how you want to catch any kind of a break on your schedule, obviously, but Mississippi State
Right, yeah.
losing Mike Leach and having to start from zero offensively, that's going to change a lot about that team. You obviously expect that some of the teams that you beat this year will get tougher. A&M, it's hard to imagine having another year quite like this year for just being a total mess. Kentucky with Cohen back, that'll make them better. I don't know if they've got their next quarterback with Leary, if he'll stay healthy and how good he is. We'll see about that. But you also have two teams in Missouri and in Florida that I think, because you lost to, let's say one of those games flips. You could also very easily flip a Missouri, for example, back your way and make up for if you lose a game like an A&M or a Kentucky that's been a tougher team for you in recent years. So you've got Clemson coming to you. You obviously feel like you can compete with them now based on what you just did. I mean, I don't think there's any reason for you to look at this schedule if you're a Gamecock fan and just say, OMG, we're going to have to, everything's got to be perfect to win 8 again. You have a reason to believe you can build off of that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like this year where you looked at, JC kind of said this, you look at the opening 3 and you go, okay, well, we get Georgia State to start, but then at Arkansas, defending national champion Georgia, now it'll be 2-time defending champion. A little bit different feeling going into the season where we did look at that schedule this past year and went, at Arkansas, Georgia, at Kentucky, Texas A&M, 0-4 to start SEC play is kind of realistic. I don't think you'll be feeling that way come when we get to SEC Media Days. We'll kind of finish up with that. Heath hanging around here for a few minutes. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Your home for Gamecocks all year long. Streaming live local radio. And it's free. 107.5 The Game.
And time to take one last look at your traffic around the Midlands. I have a disabled motorist at I-77 northbound at the 4-mile marker. Be on the lookout for that. Got an accident at Farrow Road and Killian Road back here in Richland County. And looking out in Lexington County, we have another accident out at Bush River Road and Berry Hill Road. And that is a look at your traffic around the Midlands.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. The Powerball jackpot for Wednesday is $360 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See sceducationlottery.com for jackpot odds and a store near you.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Dodgeland on Greystone doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars. And he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition. Whether you buy from him or not, drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of. JT's Dodgeland on Greystone. JT'sDodge.com.
Uneven sidewalks, pool decks, or patios? Canty can repair them for just a fraction of the cost of replacement. Call Canty Foundation Specialists today for your free estimate.
Canty can fix it.
Uneven concrete can be a dangerous tripping hazard leading to injury. Call the experts at Canty to permanently repair your sinking or cracked concrete. Call 753-1495 or visit CantyCanFixIt.com. Canty can fix it.
Hey Gamecock Nation, Ben Cato and Matt Stedman from Cato's Power Equipment.
We are proud to be your family-owned dealership since 1984 for Aaron's, Gravely, Oro, and Steel Power Equipment. Come visit our showroom at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, located right outside of downtown.
We're proud to serve Columbia's landscapers, municipalities, and of course our everyday grass cutters trying to one-up their neighbor. We can't wait to help maximize your mowing experience. Give us a call at 803-254-3711.
Hey, I'm Jenny Sturm. I'm with Sturmy Plumbing. Call my dad if you have any slow drains, clogged drains, leaky pipes, runny toilets, runny sinks, or no hot water. Call Sturmy Plumbing for all of your service and repair needs. 803-201-2689. At Stormy Plumbing, where we make your gray skies blue.
Hey, this is Brian with Stormy Plumbing. Give us a call at 803-201-2689. Again, the number is 803-201-2689. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, my husband and I own a small business in Columbia, and we ended up needing some help with some tax problems that we had and needed to get resolved. We initially owed about $300,000, and John Ecton and his law firm ended up getting us an offer in compromise, which dramatically reduced the amount owed. I would personally recommend the Ecton law firm. They did an excellent job for us, and if this is a concern that you're facing, they're definitely the people you should call.
It's great to know we have changed people's lives for the better. Hi, this is local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. For over a decade, our office has been dedicated to helping hardworking individuals and businesses solve tax problems for good. So if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call our office today at 771-9800 or go to EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Let's get your tax problem solved for good. Call today. You'll be glad you did.
Credit and bank determined down payment. Call 888-320-6359 for details. The legend of JT began in 1991 when rumor has it that a man with a 300 credit score was able to buy a new car. More than 3 decades later, JT of JT's Kia has helped thousands of people get the new vehicle they need. You too can join JT's Credit Restart. It's easy. If you take home $400 per week and have a steady job, you too could join the thousands JT has helped and drive the new Kia of your dreams. JT's Kia on Killian Commons Road. JT'sKia.com.
Ever wonder why your business doesn't show up on online search maps, but your competitors do? It's hundreds of things. Things that Cumulus Boost can identify and fix. And that's how we boost your findability. CumulusBoost.com. CUMULUS Boost.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The early game
With Bill Gunter, Tyler Head, and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. Heath and I are actually going to hang around and do another segment after this, so the early game will continue into the 9 o'clock hour. So you can keep your radios tuned right here. This will not be the final segment with Heath and I.
I'm just going to roll through till 6, baby.
That's
I'm
right.
not going anywhere.
This is what he comes in, he takes over the studio, he muscles everybody else out, just yells at people, just sings a little bit. So it's just the Heath Cline shows today. Heath 107.5 The Cline. and you got content to talk about. Spencer Rattler, Dogman on our Firehouse Subs text line weighs in. And this is what now everybody's going to turn their attention to, right? Like with the transfer portal. He says, with Spencer coming back, what does that do to the existing quarterback room? Who stays, who leaves? You know, Heath, I mean, J.C. Shurburtt was on an hour ago with us, and he said at least his intel is that Luke Doty's going to stay. Luke Doty, technically, is going to be a redshirt sophomore next year.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, look, sure, obviously one of the guys could go, but I just think if you're them, you might as well, with a new offensive coordinator especially, see where you stand after spring. There's nobody out there right now for any of these guys who's said, hey, come in and you're a starter in 2023. Right. You're our guy. You know, if you're Garrett Nussmeier, say, at LSU, there's somebody out there, probably at a pretty good program, who would say, you come in, you could be our guy. Like, real good chance you could be our guy. What's his face? Luke Heward, I believe it is. The kid out at...
Is it Luke, or you called him Sam yesterday?
Okay, Sam. I'm sorry. I was trying to remember. There's so many Hewards. There's been David, there's been Brock. All these. He's a 5-star. Somebody might very well say to him, like, if Dion at Colorado didn't already have his son at quarterback, he could say to a guy like that, 5-star, hey, come play here. You're going to play right away. Nobody on this roster, they're all good recruits, but nobody's that kind of player where somebody would just say, come in, you're playing right away. So see what Dow Loggins thinks of you. See where you stand on the depth chart. And if you're Shane Beamer, you got to know there's a pretty good chance at least one of those guys is going to come to you and say, Coach, I need to know. Like, if I'm not in your top 3 right now, what is there anything I'm going to be able to do that will get me there? Because if not, I probably need to find a way to get on somebody's depth chart and start fighting for a spot somewhere else. I don't think there's any reason to believe they do it before spring. Now with a new coordinator, new offense, new chance to make an impression. And look, I don't want to be morbid about this, but you know, guys get hurt. Things can happen. Right. So, you know, we all hope Spencer Rattler has a great, healthy, everything goes perfect year. But if you're one of these kids, there's some reason to just stick around and see what happens, because there is certainly not anybody, even Doty, that has established himself for sure as the number 2 option if they had to prepare to start a season right now.
The next part of this will be the expectation for Dow Loggins will ramp up significantly now with Wells and with Spencer Rattler back. There'll almost be no honeymoon period because, as we just said, with the schedule, with everything, it is going to be interesting. I can't remember if you and I talked about this. I think the one thing that people have lost in the Dow Loggins hire is that he cut his teeth being a quarterback coach in the NFL. That's one thing you couldn't say for Marcus Satterfield. Marcus Satterfield kind of coached around. He was assistant offensive line coach for the Panthers. I think he was tight ends coach for Baylor under Matt Rule. Dow Loggins' background is as quarterback coach, and that's something that whole room, when you've got that many guys, can really be beneficial.
Yeah, and for a guy like Rattler, who by some accounts has improved his draft status from what it was, but still is nowhere near what people once thought it was yet. He's not a day one guy, maybe not a day two guy yet. A guy like that brought the best out of a guy like a Jay Cutler, for example, it at least gives you something to think about, enough to say, you know what, it makes sense. Let's give it another year. Let's try and stack some good tape off of the strong end of the season. Now have a good full season like that in the SEC. And there's a conversation to be had next year about, okay, are you a first-day guy after all? Because, Bill, the physical tools are there. I mean, I think the NFL would probably like him to be an inch or two taller than he is, to be that perfect specimen, but adequate mobility, fantastic arm. If he can just make that jump on the other stuff consistently, he can be a first-round pick. There's no question about it.
The other question will be Juice Wells. What happens? We'll talk about this. We'll get in. We're going to do another segment, maybe two here as we roll along on a Wednesday morning. Wednesday, whatever day it is. I don't know.
One of these days.
It's early January. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in this morning. Again, you're listening to the early game. It'll be Heath Cline, Bill Gunner, Tyler hanging around. We'll carry you through for a segment or two and get you up and get you going, get you out the door. We got a lot to get into. South Carolina's big victory over Kentucky on Tuesday night, last night, 71-68, just the third victory at Rupp Arena for the Gamecocks. We'll continue covering that a little bit. We'll get back into that Spencer Rattler news as well. Certainly a great night for South Carolina fans. You can all rejoice. Put on the garnet and black this morning and walk around town high-fiving each other. We'll continue talking about that. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
WNKT-FM, Eastover, Columbia, your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game, a Cumulus media station.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Jeep Ram in Lexington doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars. And he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car and get more than you ever dreamed of at JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. JT'sJeepRam.com.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure for max strength daytime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. DayQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure. The daytime, non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. Did you know that all Wi-Fi is not created equally? Did you know that if you have a Wi-Fi extender, you could actually be losing more than half the speed of your internet? And did you know that Wi-Fi in your home could be outdated and not as fast as it should be, or that you want it to be? Integrated Media is installing the latest and most secure Wi-Fi available, and it works everywhere, from the garage to the kitchen to the bedrooms and even in your backyard. What's your favorite streaming app? Do you want to stream sports, movies, old classic TV shows? Integrated Media gets you the correct equipment that works for you and your family. Want to watch college baseball games but don't see them on regular cable? You can stream all of them from services like ESPN+, Hulu, YouTube TV, Disney+, and more. Integrated Media can guide you to the perfect setup for you and your family to get everything you want all the time. Call them up at 803-948-8327. See them on Facebook and Instagram. Get the latest in Wi-Fi technology that works everywhere.
Locally owned Atlantic Windows and Doors has been making Columbia area homes more comfortable, attractive, weather-tight, and energy efficient for over 35 years. How? By distributing products from the best window and door manufacturers in the country. These products give you the best looks, the best quality, and the best value, all based on your specific needs. And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com.
If a man sells pizzas for a living but can't find pepperoni, what does he do? He pays more. He's got to make the pizzas. While JT of JT's Kia doesn't sell pizzas, JT does sell lots of used cars, and he really needs yours. JT will pay you lots more than you ever dreamed of, no matter the condition, whether you buy from him or not. Drive, push, or pull your car in and get more than you ever dreamed of at JT's Kia. Killian Commons Road, jtskia.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by the power of Love Chevrolet. It's that time of year, and no better time to say thank you to you, our valued customer. Love Chevy, your trusted family-owned dealership since 1961. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads. The Extra Point on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
9 a.m. on your Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Heath Cline hanging around for just a few more minutes here, or at least I am, and then I'll head back to Lexington and take a nap and get ready for a Thursday show. We've discussed a lot of things that have taken place in the last, 12 hours, 13 hours? Is that right?
Depends on what you start with the game, but yeah, 14.
14.
From the tip-off.
All right. So a busy Wednesday night a busy Tuesday night. Today's Wednesday. Busy Tuesday night for South Carolina fans there as the Gamecocks go into Rupp Arena, pull out the 71-68 victory. They go to 8-8 on the season. I mean, that's the part about this. 8-8. Now they're 1-2 in conference. They'll host Texas A&M Saturday at 6 p.m. over at Colonial Life Arena. Heath, I will say, going back to the basketball game, it will be interesting to see now how this team handles it, because you brought up a good point. G.G. Jackson's one and done. It would be a miracle if he came back for a second year, but given that
with the collective bargaining agreement, there's a very specific reason why it was really smart for him to reclassify. There are contractual reasons why, unless the NBA flat out just said, do not come, we won't draft you, which there is no indication would happen. He just has a lot of incentive to go.
But you did get a performance from a guy who will be back next year. Meechie Johnson last night, 26 points. There are some flaws to his game. He plays a little out of control at times, has no concept that you can get closer to the three-point line to shoot it.
That one that he took from almost the logo, I was like, whoa, son, whoa. I get that you're feeling it, but whoa.
Yeah. He has no problem letting him fly from about 7 or 8 feet behind the three-point line. Another guy who had a just quiet night, and young guy, freshman, Frank Martin recruit, Zach Davis comes in last night early on in the game and kind of set the tone. And that was kind of the big deal. South Carolina set the tone in that game early. You had mentioned it. This Kentucky team was teetering. They're trying to find themselves. There's questions about John Calipari. I believe you probably saw on Twitter the guy yesterday at the game holding up the "Please Go to Texas" sign, who they, I think, asked to leave, I would assume.
Yeah, according to what he put out there, I guess he talked to some reporter and said they told him, give him the sign, and he wouldn't give him the sign. Okay. He said he'd leave. And as he was leaving, I guess he held up the sign again, and then they grabbed him and were demanding the sign. And it sounds like a mess. But I mean, Bill, I listened to their post-game show because they're in a bad place right now. I mean, I knew this was going to be lively. I didn't hear as much anger as I heard just raw emotion. There were people crying on the air last night, crying because they lost to South Carolina in basketball, and just what that says about where this team is going. And look, they've had some years that they struggled a little bit, and then Calipari, I've done a tweak or some crap like that. And then, like the team with the Harrisons, makes it all the way to the Final Four. They don't think Calipari can make a tweak anymore. Like they feel like this is kind of the end of the era, but the problem is it can't be the end of the era. They can't just say you're fired, because they gave him a contract that makes it basically impossible for them to do that. And it's kind of like A&M with Jimbo Fisher. You've got this guy with great achievements, and when you hired him, it was a big deal, and you felt like everything was going well. And look, this has been more of a dip than the Fisher that just kind of went off a cliff last year. But but it's kind of that same situation. Both sides feel like, man, they might want to be somewhere else, and neither side can because they're stuck because of the contract.
Well, and here's the thing. Somebody hit me up on our Firehouse Subs text line earlier and said, well, what direction does Texas go? Obviously, John Calipari's name is being tossed around for that. If I'm Texas, Calipari's down the list of people I'd go to. My first phone call is probably going to the guy in Tuscaloosa, Nate Oates. I mean, there's other guys, young coaches coming up that I would go to. Calipari's, he is, I guess, he's 63, and we're learning coaching ages can now span up well into the 70s. He's still what you would consider a young guy. But here's the one point, the back to your point there. It's been since 2015 since they went to a Final Four. They went to 3 Final Fours in 4 years, I believe, 4 Final Fours in 5 years, 11, 12, 14, and 15 is what I've got here, or I think something like that. But he has not been to a Final Four since 2015
and won a tournament game since 2019.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Kentucky now as you look around, and I can see where people are starting to get a little antsy. That's a blue blood program that expects a lot more.
The thing, too, is that I think people believe, like, okay, well, you have one bad year. Because, like, in the middle of all that, obviously, you had that 1 year with the team with Nerlens Noel where he got hurt. They wind up in the NIT. They lose in the first round to Robert Morris. So it's like, okay, well, 2020, weird year. A lot of stuff happened. Last year, okay, you're back in the tournament. You're a 2 seed. Everything's going to be okay. And then you lose to St. Peter's. I think a lot of things just have them rattled. Like, they can't just say, oh, it's 1 year that was kind of a down crop of freshmen, or, oh, we just didn't have a point guard. It's too much of it. It's all of it together. And more than that, Nate Oates in the press conference that he had after the Alabama game flat out said, hey, we wanted to put Shibwe, we wanted to take advantage of him on ball screens. Yeah. We knew that. I mean, he flat out said in a way that normally a coach would never say. You don't do that because you might see those guys again. Like, even if that's what you think, if there's any chance you'll see them again, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, you keep it to yourself. The fact that he felt it was not only obvious, but that it wouldn't even matter. Hey, I put it out there. You know what Paris said last night? In part, yeah, we want to put Shibwe in ball screens. I mean, he was asked about it and was honest, but Oates just put it out there on Main Street like that. That almost never happens that bluntly. I just think that's a sign that people look at this Kentucky team and look at this Kentucky staff, frankly, and don't see the kind of coaching and game planning that makes them feel like, well, you say that and they're going to fix it and they're going to make you pay for it. I don't think anybody believes that about Cal and his staff.
I think you brought it up because I think it was you who mentioned that I went and read the article in The Athletic talking about other coaches who now think John Calipari's offense is antiquated.
Absolutely.
The things he wants to do was an article in The Athletic. And it is crazy to think because, basketball, run, shoot. It's not like football where you're lining up, saying the wishbone or you're doing what people have complained about with Marcus Satterfield for the last few years, saying, oh, why don't you get the ball to your playmakers, or, these plays don't make sense, or there's one play not setting up the other. In basketball, it's kind of like, hey, press, run, get down the floor, dunk. That's kind of the weird thing is now people are starting to call out John Calipari and saying what he did that was so good was more reliant on generational talents like Derrick Rose and Anthony Davis and John Wall.
Yeah, I've told this story before, but I don't think I've told it with you, so I'll just use it real quick. Lee Iacocca, the former chairman of Chrysler and other things, when he worked at Ford, he talked about how when he worked at Ford, he was in the executive dining room and he'd eat with Henry Ford. And Ford loved their burger. And everywhere they went, he would ask for a burger, and he would always complain that the burger wasn't as good as the burger he could get back at home in the executive dining room. And so finally, Iacocca, after eating with him all these times and hearing this guy constantly complain that nobody in America can make a good burger, he went to the chef and said, what are you putting in these burgers? Like, explain it to me. Why does he think this is the best burger in the universe? And the guy said, hey, it's a very complicated process. Watch. And he goes and he gets this like really high-end steak and puts it in the grinder and makes it into a burger. And I go, Oh, okay. That's what you're doing. You're serving the guy a steak that just happens to be on a bun, basically. And that to me is what Calipari's been doing the whole time. When you're making the burger with steak, the burger tastes better than the other burgers. But when you suddenly have to make it with same old meat as everybody else, then whether or not you got that right spice blend or whatever, all of a sudden that stuff matters. And Cal just has kept making the same exact recipe when he doesn't have the steak anymore. And it seems like that has really, really gone stale.
And it really is interesting because I do think, you love college basketball. I'm a huge college basketball fan. I'm really getting back into it now as we separate more and more from college football season. The parity in college basketball, I think, is about as great as I've seen it. Houston is number one currently. Kelvin Sampson has them. Kansas last night, I think, won by 3 or 4. They were playing Oklahoma at Fog Allen after the Carolina game. Purdue, who just lost to Rutgers, about a week and a half ago. Alabama's 4, Tennessee's 5. I mean, if I gave you right now what would you go to? The top 12? Number 12 right now is Xavier, 13-3 with that Sean Miller guy who enjoys halls. If I gave you the top 12 or the field, I'm not sure if you would just necessarily jump on those top 12 teams.
No, wide open year. A lot of possibilities. Who gets a good matchup in the bracket? Favorable matchup. Maybe somebody got an injury at a key moment. I mean, you're going to have a very wide open field, which should make for a fun tournament for all of us coming up in March. By the way, back to Texas. Your idea of Oates is certainly a good one if they could get him. Oates has obviously proved to be a heck of a coach and now has shown he could do it in multiple places. Now, though, that it has been shown that the NCAA has no teeth, that everything that happened in federal court in New York City turned out not to mean anything for anybody other than the 4 assistants who apparently were the only corrupt people in college basketball. How much longer do we genuinely believe Rick Pitino is going to keep trotting out I just love being here in New Rochelle, here at a Catholic school to wrap up my career. I started at a Catholic school. I'm going to end at a Catholic school. I get to play wing foot anytime I want. How many of us believe that dude, if given the chance, not to take any old job, but to take a job like Texas, that he could already have good talent in place and feel like he could very easily within a year or two be ready to contend for a championship? How many of us believe that dude's ego is going to let him end his career at Iona?
It's ego driven. I look at it from a different perspective because he's 70. He'll be 71 in September.
It's not a long term. There's no question. It's not a long term answer. But if there's anybody who would coach to 84 to prove a point and try and get every winning record and everything else, I think we've established that man is as driven a human being in the coaching world as there is right now.
And let's also just point out South Carolina should have just thrown $10 million at him. Doesn't mean he would have taken the South Carolina job.
I'm with you. He would not take just generically a job. But Texas, while no one has really fully harnessed its potential maybe ever.
Would he go back to Kentucky, you think?
What
you laid out about trying to get rid of John Calipari. But
I don't think those two sides could come back together. But having said that, do I think that dude would love to get that phone call and publicly have that be out there for 3 or 4 days while he agonizes about? Oh, yes. Oh, goodness, yes. Do I think he would be ecstatic about that? I'm just saying, if you're Texas and you want to win, some people would say, well, now, wait a minute. You had to get rid of Chris Beard because of his behavior. You're going to bring in a guy associated with the 10 seconds in an Italian restaurant. And we're not talking a Billy Joel song here. Maybe they don't have the guts to make that move. But you'd have to think about it now that, for better or worse, the NCAA stuff is resolved. He got no consequences, and the NCAA doesn't seem capable of dealing consequences to anybody for anything anymore anyway. I do wonder about that.
It'll be something to watch and to track with Rick Pitino. Chris Beard's another one. I'll ask you about him in terms of basketball coaches, because we know that whole situation at Texas. You got the girlfriend who it was initially domestic violence. Now all of a sudden she's kind of walked it back and said, oh, he didn't do anything. Obviously the Texas investigation, maybe showing the Texas Longhorn investigation showing otherwise. Chris Beard still is a really good basketball coach. And unfortunately, in the culture we live in today, somebody's going to pick him up, right?
I think it will be a while if he gets picked up.
Really?
I think, first of all, the number one thing is you got to have the legal setup resolved.
True.
If the legal setup does not lead to him getting formally charged and tried, he's obviously faced charges, but if it doesn't go to court, if a prosecutor says, we don't think there's enough here to go forward with the case, or if it goes to court and he is acquitted, maybe at some point somebody starts to be willing to take a chance. As long as there's any prospect of the legal system having anything to say about Chris Beard, then he's radioactive for sure. Down the line, I mean, look, you would hope that a school would do its own investigation into the situation and be extremely careful that they know all the facts and that there is nothing else from his past that could come up to be a problem before they would make such a move. But history tells us somebody will have a booster that wants to play a little fast and loose and says, yeah, we got to win, and probably just jumps in the pool, and then we'll see whether or not anything turns up once they do.
803-404-6100. We'll roll along. Bill Gunner, Heath Cline, getting you started here in the 9 o'clock hour. It's 107.5 The Game.
The Extra Point
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Science with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Tax Slayer. Start filing for free today at TaxSlayer.com. Some pre-wildcard weekend fun facts, folks. Of the season's 10 new head coaches, 5 made the playoffs. For the 33rd straight season, at least 4 teams that had missed the playoffs the previous year are in them this year. And 27-year-old Patrick Mahomes is the oldest, believe it or not, starting quarterback in the AFC playoffs. Man, time flies. I'm Boomer Science.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like saddling up and chasing down.
Look at that sweet moolah!
That big old cash cow.
Look at all that money!
File for free with TaxSlayer Simply Free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
The new year is here. Time for a change. Start a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand IT field with My Computer Career. In just months, already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus, and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide life-saving equipment to first responders. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. That's why they're bringing back their daily medium sub special for just $7.99. Enjoy a different handcrafted medium sub at a special price every single day of the week. Like today's Wednesday special, the New York Steamer sub for just $7.99. Get it for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs and order now with the Rapid Rescue at firehousesubs.com.
May old car problems be forgot in 2023. May old car problems be forgot with a new car warranty.
Celebrate the new year in a new Kia from Galliana Kia on Grayson. With zip, zero, nothing down, and 0 payments for the next 3 months. Plus, we'll take any trade regardless of condition, even if you're over mileage, have months left, or still owe thousands. Worried about your credit? If you've got a job and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved.
Gotta go to Galliano.
Galliana Kia on Greystone. I-126 Zoo exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or KiaColumbia.com. Real stock number 3K1107. 0 down, $270 per month for 84 months at 6.9 APR. Plus tax tag includes $225 closing. Lender trade equity financed and new loans subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
One search engine is used by 9 out of 10 consumers. Hint, the name begins with a G. And there are hundreds of things that go into being ranked highly by that engine. Your website, your business profile, even your social accounts. A couple of slip-ups and you find yourself on page 7. But at Cumulus Boost, we have the experts and resources to fix what's wrong and boost your findability so you can rank higher than your competition. Get started today at cumulusboost.com. CUMULUS boost.com.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure for max strength daytime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. DayQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure. The daytime, non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
The Extra Point on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
$9:19 on your Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Heath Cline, at least for one more segment. Then Terry Ford will be along to carry you through. Gamecock Central coming in later on this morning as we have covered a lot of different topics here. South Carolina's 71-68 victory over Kentucky last night. Obviously one of the big ones. The other one, South Carolina getting Spencer Rattler back for 2023 at quarterback. This coming weekend, Heath, little NFL action as the playoffs get going. The one storyline that will not involve the playoffs that we'll keep an eye on is the Carolina Panthers. I believe it's today. Was it today or yesterday? They were supposed to interview Steve Wilkes.
Wilkes was yesterday.
Yeah, Wilkes was yesterday. Okay, Wilkes interviewing. Boy, you talk about really messing yourself up, Dan. I'm not sure. I mean, granted, the Houston Texans still have the number 2 pick, and I'm not real sure how that's going to go, but let's go ahead and get that 2-point conversion and cost us that number 1 pick in an important game against the Colts.
Hey, Lovey don't care. Lovey's about to get paid, get fired, and get paid. So might as well. You can't get mad at a guy, right? All he did was win the game. But
do you buy that?
Lovey throwing up deuces on his way out the door there.
Do you buy that? Hey, we're professionals. We're here to win the game. When the organization is like, no.
Well, I mean, look, if you're Lovey Smith, you know for a fact that they hired you to fire you. Everybody in America knew they hired you to fire you after 1 year. The only reason you got the job is because Brian Flores filed his lawsuit in the middle of their hiring process. And all of a sudden, okay, you've got someone alleging racial discrimination in how the NFL handles its business. And we're looking strongly at hiring a guy in Josh McCown who's been a high school coach for a year. Of course, later on, who knew that Jim Irsay would be a Leroy Jenkins and just go diving into the pool on Jeff Saturday halfway into next year? Who knew that was coming? But at the time, the idea of hiring a guy who had only been a high school coach for like a season didn't seem like it was the right moment when Flores filed that lawsuit. And so all of a sudden, it's like, you know what? Lovey's on staff. We'll just hire Lovey. He's got experience. Wink, wink. We're hiring him. And everybody knew, all right, one more year of working through salary cap poison. And next year, they're going to blow it up again. And this time, they're going to actually hire whoever their quote-unquote long-term coach is. So, hey, if you're him, hey, it is the last game you'll ever be an NFL head coach. Absolutely go for the win.
Okay.
Why not?
And as far as the Panthers go, their win, their 10-7 victory, 2 spots? Is that right?
They went from 7
to 9. Yeah, okay. They've got a lot of needs. They quarterback is one of them, but at 9, and I said this yesterday, boy, I hope you, and I'm not even a Panthers fan, but if you buy in on Will Levis at 9,
I don't think Will Levis will be there for them to buy in at 9. I think you need to be worried about Anthony Richardson at 9 if you're worried about them buying in at 9.
Oh.
The question is, though, first of all, obviously, who they hire as the coach.
Right.
If you're hiring Wilkes, then you have to know who his coordinator is. You cannot hire him with "dude, trust me" as the answer for offensive coordinator. So you got to know who he's got. And what coordinator is it? Is it somebody that's a veteran coordinator that's known for bringing along young talent? Is it somebody who's a hot, young up-and-comer, but you're not necessarily sure how he is at developing a quarterback? Like, where are they going with that coordinator spot should inform what you do next for the quarterback spot. Because, for example, Derek Carr is going to be out there. You're going to have to make a decision on Derek Carr quickly. You're not going to have the luxury of going through all the workouts and everything else. The way that Carr's contract is structured with the Raiders, they have 3 days after the Super Bowl to either cut or trade him before his salary guarantees. So somebody's going to get Derek Carr by Wednesday after the Super Bowl, or else he's cut. So if you're the Panthers, and let's just say you want a veteran guy right now, you don't want to wait for a young guy for 2 or 3 years. Maybe you think Matt Corral could be that guy in 2 or 3 years. You didn't get to see him much, whatever. You need to go ahead and make the move for Derek Carr before you go through Bryce Young and all that stuff. So you got to make some decisions right now. What is your future at quarterback? What do you want it to be? But if they're looking for a young quarterback, I mean, look, the Bears at 1 are going to keep Justin Fields, and they're going to almost certainly auction that pick off. So what's that going to look like? How much would it take for you to go from 9 to 1? Is there a quarterback you like enough to want to go from 9 to 1? That's where things are going to get real interesting for the Panthers.
I'd say Jim Harbaugh supposedly out of that job is not going to be considered there now after a meeting. So I guess the question becomes, after Steve Wilkes, where do you go with your other options?
The one I'm curious about is Frank Reich, because Reich supposedly, there's some people who think he's just going to take a year. Again, that's the thing. with Cliff Kingsbury, you hear about where is he going to land? Is he going to be a coordinator? Is he going back to college? Where he's going to land is probably going to be somewhere in Italy. Okay,
He's got plenty of money.
He's doing fine. He's got plenty of money, and you look at the stress levels he's had in that job and the way it's aged him in the last year, especially. There's certainly a case for the idea. Just take a year, regroup, catch your breath. You're probably not going to get a head coaching job again, so take a good coordinator job when you want to, or look, if you just want to go be Cliff Kingsbury for the rest of your life with a big bag of money, you could do that too. He probably won't because he's a pretty serious football guy, you hear. But, Frank Reich, you hear the same kind of thing that after what was obviously a pretty chaotic last year with the Colts, that he may not want to jump back in. But if you could get him, if you're the Panthers, that would be a name that would excite me a lot more than 3 guys who've been an offensive coordinator for 1 year, 1 guy who's been an offensive coordinator for 2 years, none of whom have any head coaching experience. Just because you're a good play caller does not mean you've got all the resources to be a head coach. And I some of these guys, I get why teams want new offenses, exciting offenses, but it sure feels like you'd be better off waiting a year or 2 and giving these guys a little more time to grow and develop before you thrust them into a head coaching job. So if I'm a Panther fan, I would love to hear Frank Reich is actually seriously interested in that job, unless they're hiring Wilkes, and then you got to know who the coordinator is.
The 2 names that'll be hot commodities, one of them definitely not coming to the Carolina Panthers, and Sean Payton. That's not going to happen in division like that with the Saints. But Sean McVay, I guess at least the word coming out yesterday with the Rams that they're not going to block any coordinator moves to lateral jobs. You mentioned Liam Cohen, I guess was officially rehired yesterday.
Yeah, it's
I knew it was coming.
And 3 years. Do you see the dollar figure on this?
No.
What do you think for a guy who had 1 good year at Kentucky? Now he's an NFL OC, maybe in part interested in coming back because there's a question about whether or not McVay is going to stay for another year with the Rams. He's at least getting close to maybe calling quits for a while. How much do you think Kentucky's spending per year for 3 years when they're OC?
Well, they're a football school now, and given that I think that there was a lot of love for Liam Cohen when he was there his 1 year and what he did with Will Levis, I'm going to go 3 years, $4.8 million. So I just go just under 1.6 a year.
Close enough that you don't win both showcases, but you could win the one showcase in the Showcase Showdown. $1.8 million a year for 3 years for an offensive coordinator at Kentucky. Again, the world has changed, man.
So it's where we're at. That's what I was saying. They're John Calipari is trying to tell them it's a basketball school. Mark Stoops is saying, I don't think so, buddy. We're a football school now. And that game will be in late November. Things will change so much by the time you get to game 11 that I don't know what Kentucky will look like when they come to Williams-Brice Stadium the week before Clemson. But it is interesting with what the Rams are doing, bringing, I guess, trying to keep. I really like their idea, by the way. They went all in last year to win the Super Bowl. They did whatever we had to do. You get all the guys we need. They go and they get the Super Bowl. They win it. Then they decide, hey, we're going to run it back one more time, and it completely falls apart. The whole Baker Mayfield's out there now running around. I do wonder what happens with Sean McVay, though, what his future is like, because he seems like a guy pretty content to maybe just do some TV, collect a few dollars, go hang out on the beach.
Well, you've got a guy here that, by all accounts, is just a super grinder, burns the candle both ends and in the middle. He's 36 years old, but he's already played in one Super Bowl, won another Super Bowl, has a gorgeous Ukrainian wife who this year alone, he lost his grandfather, who was his entry point into the world of football to begin with. Obviously, as noted, Ukrainian wife, a lot of stress going on there this year, apparently, in his family life. Hasn't really had a year like this where he's ever had to deal with losing. He's been putting himself through the ringer. And so, yeah, I mean, this guy, even though he's a young guy, remember, John Madden burned out as a coach by early 40s. I mean, everything that came after was because sometimes you get these guys that are just so driven and so intense, and they put themselves through so much that they can't do it. Well, McVay, his dad, has a TV background. Like, he is very comfortable with TV. Like, he also worked for Gruden in Tampa. He saw how Gruden went, spent years in the booth at ESPN, and still was rumored as a coaching candidate every year, was able to come back to an insane deal from the Raiders when he did finally come back. So if you're Sean McVay, let's say you are kind of looking at things and saying, all right, if I get out right now and me and my good head of hair is sounding smart on ESPN for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I could still come back in my late 40s if I want to and be a coach. And in the meantime, I could have a more sane, normal life, still be around football, maybe have a kid or two and actually be around to raise him. Like, you could totally see how that makes
Right.
sense for that guy.
That's what I'm saying. He'll be another name to keep an eye on. 803-404-6100. I will move on out of the studio. I've been here for 3.5 hours. That's more than enough for me. I've done hard work today. We'll see what happens with Heath. He may hang around. Like he said, he's just here till 6. He'll be out there hanging out in the hallway. We'll wave him in throughout the day.
They keep me in a box in the office. I'm like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction, minus the whole, Gimp thing.
That's an awful way to wrap up this morning for
There's
me.
an image for you, Bill.
We will leave you with that thought. Terry Ford coming up next. It's the early game on 107.5 again.
The Extra Point on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
All right, everybody. I'm out of here. I got to clean up later.